Hokage Starting from the Instant Full Level, Chapter 221-240. Chapter 221. Give a chance, let's go together. You can say so. Long Yu touched the tip of his nose and replied with a thick face. If Tsunade, who has always been irritable, knew that he had passively accepted half of his male apprentices, I wondered if he would get angry and tie him back to verify his identity. Jia and the others on the side were also startled for a while. It was soon seen that Long Yu took out a glass vessel similar to a smoke bomb with his backhand. Without any hesitation, he threw it directly to the ground. Bang! The glassware shattered instantly, and a slightly sweet smell rolled away with the wind, and soon neutralized the poisonous gas in the field. Boy, you won't even have an affair with Tsunade-sama, right? Kosuke couldn't help but ask. However, as soon as the voice fell, he saw a corpse deep in the ruins behind Long Yu. He suddenly opened his eyes, and under the seal of his hands, the collapsed chest and abdomen recovered like a balloon. The next moment, he even displayed the art of earth escape, directly merging into the soil. The violent scene changed the expressions of many people in the arena. This person who has been lurking for a long time, they saw with their own eyes. They took a heavy blow from Long Yu in the front, and the sternum was shattered. Now that he has suddenly recovered, and even fled away, the gap is too much. However, when I remembered, I saw Danzo and Orochimaru just now, all kinds of immortality methods emerging one after another. Instead, let them smile bitterly and secretly let go. Just that this idea sprouted in the minds of Jia and Matde just now, and the words that fell in their ears the next moment caused their expressions to change drastically. Biliuhu, since you are here, why do you have to leave in a hurry? The eyes of Long Yu's nine-hooked jade kaleidoscope writing wheel suddenly turned. The endless gravity, centered on him, rolled down like an invisible mountain. Boom! The sound of the earth shaking and the mountains made the rock formations sink. Some grounds couldn't bear this tenfold force, and they shattered and spread in an instant. From the underground dozens of meters away from Long Yu, a miserable cry suddenly came. The next moment, through the shocking crack, a figure can be seen trapped in it. However, in the face of this sudden gravitational blessing, Biliuhu's body stubbornly repaired again. At the same time, under 10 times the gravity, the hands awkwardly formed a series of spells. Steel escaped steel. The metallic luster quickly swept away on the surface of Biliuhu's body, instantly making the body metallic. In this state, a weapon that is also a metal, not only cannot be broken, but also hardened and more powerful than the earth dun of Zhao, Du. Darkness to suck the whole. Biliu roared in a hurry. He never imagined that Long Yu would be able to break through 5, and his identity would also be related to Tsunade, one of the 3 ninjas. With the black hole unfolding, while the surrounding gravity loosened a little, Biliuhu once again used the art of earth escape and escaped quickly. However, this time, because the body has been hardened, there is no doubt that there is no need to take into account the damage to the body while sneaking. Therefore, the speed has obviously more than doubled, and in a blink of an eye, it disappeared without a trace. Kosuke and Maidade suddenly woke up and were about to chase after them, but were stopped by Uchiha Ryu. Stop chasing him, he's not now. At the end of the crane, the forbidden technique was not completely successful, but it is as perverted as Orochimaru. Your conventional attack methods can't kill him. Long Yu glanced at the direction that Biliuhu left, and patted Kosuke on the shoulder. After seeing Biliuhu, after encountering such a deadly attack that can no longer die, he can recover instantly. Long Yu thought of a way to overcome the shortcomings of the 8 Gates Dunjia formation. What's more, there is still a little use for the current Biliuhu. With that, the last assassin fled. The huge ruins were instantly shrouded in inexplicable depression. Seeing those who swore to the death and did not retreat, still guarding around the Sanjiao Hanzo who had been pierced through their bodies, a tense atmosphere was created from the bottom of my heart. However, at this moment, regardless of It was Kosuke and others, or Nagato and others who led Akatsuki's organization. Even the Anbu of Yunin village, and even the weak Sanjiao Hanzo's eyes were locked on Long Yu's body. You all look nervous. Long Yu suddenly smiled warmly. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, he took a step forward, tightening everyone's nerves like a ghost. All guards, protect Hanzo-sama to retreat. The urinary dark commander roared in a hurry. With the backhand, he grabbed the chakra hilt on his back. However, before he could pull out the chakra knife, a familiar voice came from behind. You know, if I were to kill you, you would already be dead. Long Yu smiled and patted the dark unit commander on the shoulder. This calm attitude made his nerves tense suddenly. Before I had time to think about it, I pulled out the backhand. The chakra knife, the moment of pouring chakra. The waist plate turned suddenly like a hurricane, and the chakra knife in his hand, with a light blue light, slashed towards Long Yu's neck. The violent blow, coupled with the close distance, gives people a feeling that there is no way to hide. No, to be precise, in the face of the attack of the urinary dark commander in front of him, Long Yu had no intention of evading or taking action. That seemingly fierce and unparalleled attack, when it was an inch away from the surface of Long Yu's body, a crackling arc of thunder burst out. When the thunder light and the blade collided instantly, and the huge impact force directly caused the chakra knife to break. The half-blade was even in full view, flying and slanting into the ruins not far away. Who stood motionless like an iron tower, the dark army commander who shot angrily, clenched his chakra knife tightly, trembling slightly. What's the matter, do you all like to tickle me? Long Yu said with a dry smile. Give you a chance, let's all go together. Give a chance, let's go together. At this moment, the small voice was like a death urging, making the originally depressing atmosphere like adding a straw to crush the camel. Urinin Anbu's nerves tensed to the extreme. Whoosh! Dozens of figures suddenly burst into flames. The shuriken that filled the sky shot out from the backhand neatly and uniformly, and the number was so great that in the blink of an eye, they gathered into a gust of wind and rain, shrouded in the Uchiha dragon feather. At the same time, the two Urinin Anbu, who used the technique of sneaking in the soil, appeared at the side of Sanshoyu Hanzo first, intending to rescue him. The violent attack was simply huge. Dozens of people shot together. Looking at the ninja world, it can definitely be called a small war level. Facing this scene, Jiyujiya and the others could not help but shrink their pupils, and their gazes towards Long Yu became more urgent. However, in front of everyone's eyes, Long Yu suddenly raised his head, and the smile on his face became even worse. Chapter 222, Hanzo surrenders. I didn't expect that in the end, you would choose this way of dying, which is really gratifying. Thunder escape, thousand birds flow. The crackling thunder light, the speed of the circulation on Long Yu, first appeared a little stagnant, and the next moment it exploded like a frenzy. Endless thunder light splattered with the dragon feather as the center. Thunder arcs as thick as the mouth of a bull shot out like a horned dragon coming out of an abyss, tearing apart the sky in all directions. The incoming shuriken was instantly swept away by lightning. The Anbu ninja who jumped over was even more in the air, unable to hide, and was directly swallowed by the violent thunder. For a time, the radius of several hundred meters turned into a thunderous hell. Looking at the attack at will, it is enough to make people dance, and the violent and raging lightning zone makes Kosuke and others have a kind of thrilling feeling. Each of them has a self-confessed extraordinary strength. However, in the face of all this, there was no way to convince himself to take it lightly. Unless you have a mortal heart. The thunderous light in the sky is like a raging tide, and the violent scene only lasted for a few dozen seconds, and then it suddenly collapsed. When the last trace of the thunder light dissipated, the Yuninbu Anbu who were in it all fell to the ground, covered in smoke, all over the place. It's just the only thing that makes people feel an accident. They didn't suffer any casualties, and they didn't pass out. Why don't you kill them? Sanshoyu Hanzo raised his head weakly. He was also in the thunder light, and it was for this reason that he could smell a trace of inappropriateness in it. As soon as these words came out, everyone's nerves were suddenly tense, and their eyes were locked on Long Yu's body. As Sanjiao Hanzo said, the scene in front of them made them smell inappropriate. After all, Long Yu's battle to become famous was the same trick Lei done, but he killed hundreds of people in an instant. It can be said that at that moment, as long as Long Yu's thoughts moved, they could directly take their lives. You don't do this now, then if something goes wrong, there must be a demon. Hanzo, you are a wise man, you are a demigod, I am a god. Long Yu smiled and waved his hand. Was soon seen that the bone spear that had pierced through Hanzo's body was directly removed. Who lost his support, fell to the ground and looked at Long Yu with a hint of confusion. Demigods. Hanzo muttered to himself, looked at Long Yu stubbornly and said, are you planning to let me surrender to you? As soon as this is said, no matter. It was Kosuke and the others, or the Akatsuki organization led by the three Nagato Three, and their expressions changed drastically. In their eyes, Yurin Village is only a second-tier military power in the country. For Nagato and the others, the so-called half-god Sanshoyu Hanzo is a climbable existence. However, now he was summoned to surrender in public. This scene is not seen with his own eyes, who wants to believe it? Hee, Hanzo, you are a bright person. Long Yu said with a smile, but don't worry, I will not interfere with your rule, I just don't want the entire Yurin village to fall into chaos. You still have 3 minutes to consider, otherwise the fire of your life will be extinguished. You can only be reincarnated as a puppet regime. The expression of Hanzo, the reincarnation of the filthy earth, changed dramatically. He had seen with his own eyes the power of these forbidden techniques. Under the successive changes of expressions, the horizontal and vertical are the same result, rather than being enslaved. Sanjiao Hanzo gritted his teeth, and finally lowered his arrogant head. Hanzo is willing to surrender to the Lord. Simple words, at this moment, give people a feeling of hitting the depths of the soul. If you hadn't seen it with your own eyes, who would believe that, for most of his life, the dignified Sanjiao Hanzo, known as the demigod, will one day surrender? The surviving Yurin Anbu's expression froze, and they stopped talking. However, he was quickly interrupted by Sanjiao Hanzo waving his hand. Don't talk about it, I have made up my mind. A violent coughing sound could not help but come out, and the big mouthful of blood was coughed up by Sanjiao Hanzo, staining the clothes on his chest red. Looking at this scene, Long Yu gave Junmalu a helpless look and said, do you call this a light hand? Boss, you mean to keep people, I have already kept them. Junmalu replied with a cold expression. As a war weapon trained by the Bamboo clan, it is easier for Junmalu to kill than to save. Forget it, I'll save people first, and you clean them up. Long Yu reluctantly replied, and took out 444 scrolls with his backhand. In front of everyone's eyes, he threw it out with his backhand. Bang bang bang, a series of sonic booms in the air came out, and the 444 scrolls instantly turned into mysterious medical curse marks, shrouded down like a big net. Those shocking wounds that were worn directly against each other were even more wrapped up. Looking at the healing incantation array that was set up in an instant, Long Yu didn't stop for a moment, and his hands flew like wheels quickly. With the last magic seal falling, chakra like a vast sea, like a frenzy, surged out. The art of rejuvenation. The curse marks all over the body of Sanjiao Hanzo seemed to be alive at this moment, and he squirmed wildly. A vitality quickly spread and stirred. The people present looked at the scene in front of them and immediately became interested. They know that Konoha's blood-colored Asura Uchiha Long Yu has amazing fighting ability. No doubt even more shocking that he was able to control medical ninjutsu with such ease in front of him. Isn't this the art of healing and regeneration? Not only can it restore the wound, but it can also quickly heal the wound through the medium in a short period of time. Matte said with a stagnant expression. In Konoha Hospital, the medical ninjutsu that requires several people to perform, is now easily controlled by him alone. This is indeed a monster-like existence. In the huge ruins of the battlefield, hundreds of people tied their hands and stayed in place nervously. From time to time, I also glanced at Hanzo, who was shrouded in green light in the distance. Facing the end of the battle, more than half an hour has passed. Normal times, many people will lack confidence in such a long wait. However, every time there was an exclamation in the field, it could make these people take a deep breath. Who had been riddled with holes and was pierced into a sieve by Junmalu, his heart was full of shock because of the quick recovery of his injuries. Look, the last wound has also healed. I don't know who exclaimed. Of everyone in the arena swiped and locked the blood hole on Sanjiao Hanzo's chest. Looking at the originally shocking wound, it was quickly intertwined to fill up. The time between before and after was only a few tens of seconds. Chapter 220. Adults are wise. The complicated techniques, the high-speed knots, and the powerful healing speed are simply breathtaking. According to Kosuke's description, these medical ninjutsu methods are enough to surpass Tsunade, who is known as the first medical ninja in Konoha. It's done, this is the blood-activating pill. Long Yu untied the seal and threw out a bottle. Sanjiao Hanzo opened his sleepy eyes and caught it instantly. This swift and violent action is completely like a person who has nothing to do. Don't act so handsome. Long Yu couldn't help but rolled his eyes and said, your wound has just been repaired, but it is very fragile. If you can't handle it properly, in case it explodes again, I won't save you a second time. Feeling the white eyes, Sanjiao Hanzo's expression couldn't help but stagnate, and said, thank you, sir. However, my lord will not deceive me. I thought that you and Tsunade, one of the three ninjas, had a master-disciple relationship, and your medical ninjutsu skills cannot be compared with her. Now it seems that the blue is better than the blue. This battle I don't deserve Hanzo's loss. Take your medicine, there's so much nonsense. Long Yu directly blocked Sanjiao Hanzo, that jerky flattery. Old man over 50 or 60, 506,506 flattering himself is not a good feeling. Thank you so much. Sanjiao Hanzo's face was embarrassed, and after coughing dryly, he felt grateful instead. Right now, he has changed from an all-powerful demigod to someone else's subordinate. This huge gap is difficult to accept for a moment. In case of encountering a pervert, I need to say something flattering and play a lot of sycophants. For Sanjiao Hanzo, it is better to die than to live. Okay, take a rest, I still have things to do, I'll come back to you later. Long Yu patted Sanjiao Hanzo on the shoulder. Of course, I don't mind if you want to add some color to my boring life. Abandoning these words, Long Yu took a step and planned to leave. However, he was quickly stopped by Sanjiao Hanzo. Sir, if you want to find Bei Liuhu, the space-time coordinates in this scroll, I originally planned to keep it myself, but I didn't expect that things would turn out like this. Sancho Fish Hanzo motioned to his confidant to take out a scroll. Long Yu showed a hint of surprise and said, I originally buried a space imprint on him, your scroll is better than nothing. Adults are really wise. Seeing that Long Yu finally took down the scroll, Sanjiao Hanzo secretly breathed a sigh of relief. After all, this was considered a form of honor, and if Long Yu refused in public, his old face would not be able to hang. However, as soon as these words came to an end, Long Yu was once again stunned. He rolled his eyes, and said, Hanzo, your flattery skills are really bad, you've even slapped the horse's legs. When you see me in the future, it's still the same as before, don't be too cautious, otherwise you will be flattered a few more times, and I'll kill you all over the place. PFF'd. Many people in the field couldn't hold back their laughter when they heard this. Especially on weekdays, Anbu Ninja, who follows around Sanjiao Hanzo. The face of this unsmiling demigod in the past, there is now a scene of falling into the mundane world. This kind of down-to-earth flattery really made the originally suppressed atmosphere dissipated for a while. Looking at Long Yu who left those words and left, Sanjiao Hanzo's expression changed, and he finally breathed a sigh of relief. I thought that being a prisoner would be inevitable, she. Falling, I didn't expect that except for the addition of an adult verbally, everything else would remain the same. This may not be a bad thing. Boss, why didn't you kill that person just now, but now you are chasing him? Junmalu followed Long Yu's side. During this period of time, Junmalu was completely convinced after seeing Long Yu's methods like a god descending from the earth one after another. In particular, Susanoo, who was summoned by Madara Uchiha, an old legend of the Uchiha clan, was summoned by the 8 Gates Dunjia formation just now. The ground shook the mountain and opened 7 doors, but it gave him a feeling of hitting his heart directly. Most importantly, this is what Long Yu mentioned to him not long ago, the shortcut to the strongest in physical arts. By the way, this is the experience of the 8-door Dunjia formation that I wrote down, as well as the interpretation of the moves, and some Konoha-style swordsmanship. Teishu should be able to speed up your understanding of the 8 armors. Long Yu took out a brand new scroll with his backhand and handed it to Junmaro. Don't underestimate the physical skills. With the bloodline ability of your Bamboo 2 family, the damage you open the 8 doors is less than mine, and at the same time it is easier to open the 8th door. At that time, you will have to cover my boss. Junmalu looked at the scroll in his hand and couldn't help but froze in place. For outsiders, possessing a powerful forbidden technique, one can't wait to hide it, let alone impart the learning experience to others. After all, the more you have in common with others when you learn the same ninjutsu, the more weaknesses you will find. Especially such a powerful forbidden technique like Baman Dunjia, it can easily overturn a demigod, or even a god. According to Junmalu's opinion, Long Yuming knew that his Bamboo clan's bloodline could bring out the best of the 8 gates of Dunjia. He also taught it to himself, which undoubtedly created a crisis for Long Yu to dig a hole. This kind of thing has never happened to the family that gave birth to him and raised him. Even his biological father worries that he will one day be too powerful to control. Instead, he was imprisoned. Not even a single bit of combat skills were taught. It can be said that Junmalu's ability to reach today is entirely due to his own genius. What's the matter? You are not imagining that you really want to rebel in the future, then I am waiting for you to dance. Long Yu smiled and patted Junmalu's shoulder, but there was a hint of melancholy on his face. But you have to hurry up, I feel that I will leave this world. Boss, you have to leave this world. Junmalu was stunned for a moment. In his worldview, there are only the concepts of leaving a village, a country, these concepts. To leave this world is simply unimaginable. However, for Long Yu, no matter. Is it the sudden appearance of oneself into this world, or the origin of the great Tongmu family? It is enough to prove that the world is not as simple as before. Junmalu, Long Yu didn't explain much. After patting him on the shoulder, he raised his brows and said with a frown, this guy didn't return to the base provided by Sanjiao Yuhanzo, but went in other directions. It seems to be the same as I guessed. Boss, are we going to rush over now? Junmalu saw that Long Yu avoided talking, and did not ask any further questions. After Long Yu nodded in agreement, he threw himself away. Yurin village, more than 10 miles away from Wushan town, a man in a white robe swept through the forest quickly, turning his head to look behind him from time to time. Chapter 224, Research on Forbidden Techniques. Seeing that there were no chasing soldiers, after a staggering step, his face flushed, and he opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Blood water directly stained the bandage, but Bei Liuhu didn't mean to stop, and under the flying of his hands, a series of spell marks were formed. The art of psychic communication. Bang! A white fog swirled up into the sky, and soon I saw a hideous-looking, huge 2-headed snake, looming in the white fog. The next moment, without any bells and whistles, with the bloody mouth bluffing, there was a bloody wind, and it rushed towards the rocky mountain not far away. Boom! The dull collision sound suddenly sounded, and under the splash of the gravel, a large piece of sand and dust rolled back. At the same time, a dark shadow jumped out of the dust. Under his pale cheeks, his mouth opened, and in a terrifying gesture, he spit out a sharp blade with a cold light. Without any bells and whistles, it went straight to the double-headed snake. PFF'd. Blood splashed, and the sharp blade, which was unstoppable, slammed down and slashed one of the snake heads. Looking at this scene, Bei Liuhu's expression was gloomy. He swung his backhand, and the ninja scroll fell into his hand. With a bang, two Fengmo shuriken fell into his hands instantly. With the sound of breaking the air, the two shurikens in the wind and demons, and the physique skyrocketed again. The huge wind demon shuriken with a diameter of more than a few meters, with awe-inspiring power, appeared in front of Orochimaru one step ahead. And down attacks completely blocked Orochimaru's retreat. However, before Bei Liuhu was happy, Orochimaru's body quickly twisted like a boneless twist, and immediately passed through the center of the two huge shuriken. Bang! Two huge shuriken, one head smashed on the rocky mountain, the huge impact, immediately. The rock wall was shattered, and the sharp blade stabbed straight into the rock. When he missed a blow, Bei Liuhu didn't lose the slightest bit, and soon he saw the two-headed snake that had been decapitated, the broken head, and the muscles on the wound, squirming quickly, and at a speed visible to the naked eye, the head was reborn. The scarlet tongue was swallowed down, and his eyes suddenly turned, locked on Orochimaru's body. A big mouth, he slammed into the face again. Orochimaru, who was in the air, raised his brows, looking a little surprised. However, the hands quickly flipped, like wheels, giving people a kind of dazzling feeling. The art of psychic Rashomon. Bang! The mysterious curse quickly spread and opened, and the huge iron gate of Shiro was directly channeled by Orochimaru, and instantly blocked in front of the double-headed snake. Dang! The sound of heavy metal collision suddenly echoed, and the big impact force made Rashomon sag in an instant. However, under this collision, the two-headed snake was also instantly bleeding. Under the blurred flesh and blood, even the scales and armor shattered instantly, revealing Senbai's skull. However, in the face of such injuries, the two-headed snake simply ignored it and raised its head again. The flesh and blood on the edge of the wound quickly squirmed again, and in just 10 seconds, the two-headed snake quickly recovered as before. However, this time Bailahu did not let the two-headed snake attack again, but stuck out his scarlet tongue and locked onto Orochimaru's body. I didn't expect that you really researched the forbidden technique that I deliberately leaked to you back then. Orochimaru looked at the old classmate in front of him with interest. Back then, Orochimaru, Jiraiya and Tsunade were among the students of the same class, and they were also considered to be cutting edge. If it is said that Jiraiya is also the tail of the crane, then Piliuhu is definitely the bomber that grew up behind them, in the tail of the crane. Facing the gradually widening gap in strength, the jealousy in Biliuhu's heart grew stronger. Later, I accidentally discovered the so-called fusion ninjutsu theory. Two-headed snake and other psychic monsters were his initial research objects. Watching the two-headed snake's fusion experiment become more and more mature, its strength gradually becomes stronger, and it also has the ability to regenerate from death. This made Bei Liuhu completely addicted to it. It was not until he finally defected that Beluhu discovered all this, and it was possible that Orochimaru led him and lured him to this road of no return. Orochimaru, it seems that you had the heart to let me be this white mouse. Beluhu tore off the bandage on his mouth, revealing sharp side-like teeth. The mouth and cheeks spread out, like a centipede's hideous stitching marks. That bloody mouth, that terrifying level, is no worse than Orochimaru's. Hee, Biliuhu, my old friend, are you asking for guilt? Orochimaru smiled softly. You suddenly appeared here, I think it's because one of them invited you to come. You still have traces of injuries on your body. When you escaped, only Sanshoyu Hanzo slowed a beat. The person who colluded with you should be him. Speaking of this, Orochimaru couldn't help but looked up and down at Bei Liuhu, and smiled even more. My old friend didn't cheat you. This experiment is based on theory, but aren't you still alive and well? You have gained a lot of power. Even the so-called demigod, Sanjiao Hanzo, attaches great importance to you. You should thank my old friend. The slightly long-sounding voice reverberated between heaven and earth. Bei Liuhu's expression sank, and he said sharply, Orochimaru, you don't need to use words to test. The day you leaked this experimental theory to me, it seems that I never dared to let go and try it. It should be you who secretly leaked my story. Afterwards, I secretly sold a negligence and let me escape and continue the experiment. Don't you want to get the results of my experiment? Looking at the Orochimaru who was even an old friend in front of him, Bei Liuhu did not get angry, and continued to say, I saw your immortal body just now, but you lacked my powerful regeneration power. However, I can tell you one thing, this forbidden technique has not been completely perfected. Not perfect yet. Orochimaru was startled. In his eyes, the strange regenerative ability of this strange snake that sewed and mended together made him salivate. After all, the current Orochimaru is not the Orochimaru in the original book. His scientific level is still a bit different than that at that time. If we can take this opportunity, we can recycle the seeds that were planted that day and the fruits that were born. For Orochimaru, it was definitely a windfall. After all, without his genius, a series of theoretical knowledge would have been recorded. Of Beluhu, which is more stubborn than Jiraiya, to study the technique of Guiluo alone, it would be a fool's dream at all. What you see is the success of the two-headed snake. Beluhu glanced at the two-headed snake that was still eyeing him, and said, but, for myself, the selected experimental product of course needs the most optimal bloodline limit. Imagine, if a person collects all 5 kinds of blood, and then has the ability to regenerate from death, ask this world, who is his opponent, even if it is a god. Having said this, Bei Liuhu suddenly ended the sentence. Chapter 225, Enhance your ability to undead and regenerate. His mind, the lingering battle not long ago was engraved in the depths of his soul like a brand. In his eyes, he always thought that as long as he learned the technique of Guiluo, he could become a godlike existence. When the 5 kinds of blood follow the limit, it is matched with the body of immortality and regeneration. At that time, God will kill God, and Buddha will kill Buddha. However, after really seeing Uchiha Ryayu, who seems to have the appearance of God, this feels a little lacking. Orochimaru's expression changed a bit. The sharp blade from his mouth had been swallowed back, and after licking his upper lip with his scarlet tongue, he said, You don't care about running now, and you suddenly came to me, because you discovered the target of Shuiji boundary, and planned to let Can I help? Don't forget the other thing, when you come this far and escape from the village, everything has to do with me. In other words, we are enemies, why should I help someone who may seek revenge from me in the future, complete the final experiment? Facing the sudden appearance of Beluhu, Orochimaru was a little surprised. After all, in his eyes, this fit ninjutsu is too flawed. In particular, the subject of the experiment chosen by Beluhu is a person who has the limit of blood. After all, every bloodline person is a family inheritance. If people from the outside world intend to forcibly incorporate these bloodlines into their own bodies, the foreign blood will conflict with the own blood. Once the selected experimental subjects are people who have the bloodline limit, the bloodline strength will be much stronger than that of ordinary people. Once backlash occurs, a chain reaction may be formed, leading to symptoms such as decay in the body. When this theory was put forward that day, Dashawan also carried out the Mudden cell culture experiment. Liandanzo's arm from Nobu Uchiha is also a derivative of this fusion ninjutsu Oniyara. However, Orochimaru never imagined that, inadvertently setting up a situation, Bei Liuhu would eat shit and beans. Really developed the forbidden technique, Gui Yaluo, to such an extent that he was still alive to walk in front of him. Orochimaru, you leaked this flawed forbidden technique to me, do you still think I can't guess your mind? Bei Liuhu said with a sneer. Now that Guiluo's ninjutsu has been developed to an almost perfect level, I just need to find 2 more suitable blood follower limiters, and then I can achieve your ideal state. No, It should be said that compared with the theory you conceived, I will be stronger and a more perfect god. At that time, even if I meet the so-called Konoha blood-colored Asura, I will not be afraid at all. The voice of Chang's words echoed between heaven and earth, and at the end, there was a hint of madness in the words. Looking at Beilu, whose character has changed so much, Maru not only has no fear at all, but also shows a smile. Beilu, you know, I hated your idea of fighting and improving my own strength at first. But now you've learned to find shortcuts, but it's very appealing to me. Speaking of this, Orochimaru smiled even more. I am very happy that my experiment can reach such a height. You suddenly came to the door now. You should have locked the target of hunting. Are you going to invite me to help you? Looking at the tentative Orochimaru, with his disgusting face, Beilu said with a playful smile, you were right, that day, you, Tsunade, and Jiraiya were both my targets. I am in awe of you. Being able to talk to you on an equal footing like today, I really didn't expect that as long as you are willing to help me hunt down the blood follower, I can send all the experimental experience and research and development data of the Guiyu Luo technique over the years to me. You. Orochimaru didn't reject this sweet pastry from Beluhu for the first time. This is the hard work of Beluhu, and no one wants to have a unique powerful ninjutsu. Especially the tail of the crane with such a quirky personality as Beluhu. He has agreed now, but the Guiyu Luo technique that he finally handed over is definitely not a perfect version. However, this may be a taste for others, but for the perverted mad scientist Orochimaru, just a little combination of data from other experiments is enough. With this stepping stone, Orochimaru still has the confidence to make the transplantation of Mudden cells more perfect. Say, when the kaleidoscope writing wheel eye is hunted, Orochimaru itself will be able to fit perfectly. When undead reincarnates, it can become more skilled with the body. Orochimaru, what are you thinking about? Beilu said calmly, this goal, I discovered 3 days ago, according to my threading eyes, is still in the waterfall cave 30 miles away. If there is not an old man who is good at puppet art by her side, I am enough to say that she hunted, and I don't need to cooperate with you. Puppet old man. Orochimaru raised his brows, looked at the scroll that Beilu took out with his backhand, hesitated for a moment, and said, okay, I promise you to help you, but I want to know the information about the target, and the experiment of taking half of Guiyu Luo first. Give me the data. For Orochimaru, he has never done anything like a crime. In the original book, even the 3 generations of Kazekage and the 3 generations of Hokage dared to kill, and some ethnic groups were even kept in captivity by him to carry out the curse mark experiment. Not to mention the mere hunt for a blood follower with limited ability. HMPH, I also accidentally caught my eye on this target. She was wearing a mask at that time, so I don't know who it was. Beilu snorted coldly, and threw the scroll to Orochimaru. This scroll records all the information about Guiyu Luo's technique, but the second half is sealed, as long as you help me hunt for those with the ability to follow the boundaries of blood and succeed. Now, the scroll seal will also be unwound. Beilu said in a low voice. Of course, if you dare to play some tricks in the middle, this scroll will be detonated directly, and our transaction will end here. Looking at the aggressive language, Orochimaru couldn't help laughing, but without checking it, he put away the scroll and said with a smile, I just like to work with ambitious people like you. Let's go, I don't know if the kid will catch up, let's leave first. Thinking about it, even Uchiha Madara was overturned by Long Yu's simple physical skills. Was still an inexplicable shadow in Orochimaru's heart. In particular, at the end, Long Yu also mentioned that after opening the 7 doors, there is another door behind. This is for Orochimaru, once faced with the metamorphosis of Shang Longyu. To seek a sense of security is to enhance one's ability to immortalize and regenerate. Crafty Rabbit 3 kilns. Orochimaru must have at least 10 kilns to feel a little more at ease. Chapter 226, Hai Lao. Okay, now that the deal is done, let's do it right away. Set off, as long as this goal is captured, I will have the boundaries of the 4 major bloodlines, and my own strength will skyrocket. Bei Liuhu suddenly clenched his fists and said with certainty, as long as I hunt for one more target, I will be able to have a true immortality. The rolling voices dissipated, and under Orochimaru's idiot-like gaze, Bei Liuhu finally finished venting, and quickly led the way in front. However, this can't be blamed on Bei Liuhu for showing off a lot. It's like, when you are studying, there are 3 local tyrants in the class as friends. Every day I watch the 3 local tyrants show off, and now they have graduated from the society and have achieved some achievements. At the party, I can't wait to hang a worth tag to let others know that Lao Su is also doing well. A few minutes after the 2 left, 2 figures sprang from the forest and landed directly on the ruins caused by the battle between the 2-headed snake and Orochimaru. Boss, as you said, they really met. Junmalu looked around indifferently and said, do we need to speed up? Long Yu did not deny Junmalu's speculation, and Long Yu had already captured the chakra remnants of Orochimaru and Beluhu several miles away. Now he's doing it just to confirm one other thing. I don't need it for the time being. The mantis is behind the cicada and the oriole. If you let them know that there is a big tail behind it, I don't know what the expression will be. Long Yu smiled and patted Junmalu on the shoulder, did not stay any longer, and quickly followed. Then half an hour later, more than 20 miles away from them, Orochimaru and Bailahu always kept a certain distance, and they had already seen the entrance of the waterfall in the distance as they kept on their way. The turbulent water waves brought a deafening, drum-like crashing sound. The water splashing all over the sky made this piece of heaven and earth feel like a fairyland with a mist of water vapor. The goal is in front of you, Orochimaru, I hope you don't do anything when you get there. Bei Liuhu reminded in a deep voice. Hehe, you are so cautious, not the type one like, but don't worry, I, Orochimaru, will definitely keep my promise. Orochimaru laughed playfully. However, as soon as this smile appeared, a chill appeared on the spine in the next moment, and there was no time to think about it, and suddenly there was a stern sound of breaking through the air in all directions. PFF'd. One after another, dark shadows shot through the forest in an overwhelming posture. Hidden in the mist, it is even more difficult to see. When they approached the distance of 20 or 30 meters, they suddenly launched. This is obviously beyond the expectations of Beluhu and Orochimaru. However, in the face of this violent scene, the 2 of Orochimaru were only slightly startled, and quickly reacted. Steel escaped steel. The magic seal in Piliuhu's hand fell, the luster of metal quickly stirred on the surface of the body. The shuriken, senbon, and kunai that attacked from all directions landed on Kiahu's body, like rain hitting a banana, only making a series of metal collision sounds. However, compared to Beluhu, Orochimaru is more direct. As soon as the attack landed on the body instantly shattered and disintegrated, turning into hundreds or thousands of venomous snakes, as if the body was not combined. Looking at this scene, the color of the person hidden in the dark changed instantly, and the old voice sounded. Be careful, I'll take cover. Voice fell, the sky was stirred up, scattered in Beliu. The hidden weapons around the body were pulled by a special steel wire in an instant. At the moment of sudden tension, it turned into a giant cocoon, winding away towards Bei Liuhu. Quack quack, the sound of the puppet snapping together came out from the soil under his feet. Arms, like chains, quickly wrapped around Beluhu's limbs. Seeing that the series of attacks instantly achieved the expected effect, a pretty shadow hidden behind the trees flashed out like a ghost. One step ahead of him, he came to Bailahu. Burning escape overheating kill. The familiar squeak sounded suddenly, a pair of slender hands bluffed, and the scarlet fiery chakra instantly gathered in their hands. In the case of chakra infusion, it instantly turned into a huge fireball. Without any bells and whistles, under Yi King's control, he smashed head-on towards Bei Liuhu. Boom! The hot air waves, under the scorching big explosion, added a few points of power. The huge impact force caused Yi King to turn over and retreat at the same time. The trees that were more than 10 meters around were directly blown off by the middle. At the same time, the ground beneath his feet was blown into a deep, charred pit by this huge explosive force. Seeing such astonishing power, Yi King not only did not show the slightest smile, but frowned. His expression suddenly changed. "Old Hai, hurry up and escape." The violent shouting made Hai Laozang, who was hiding in the dark, startled. He felt the cold wind behind him, and the breath of death swept through his body. The sudden sense of death made Hai Laozang have no time to think about it, and at the same time he pulled away and dodged. The 10 fingers of both hands quickly changed. The next moment, not far behind the person who was originally standing, under the rolling soil, like a white snake, sticking out his head, cracking open the big snake pill with a bloody mouth, and biting straight into Hai Laozang's throat. At this close distance, facing the endless strange methods of Orochimaru, the snake head that brought a gloomy wind and was extremely fast, preemptively bit Hai Laozang's throat. PFF'd. The crisp sound of wood resounded suddenly, and Orochimaru's sharp fangs snapped on Ailian's neck in an instant. However, at the moment of entrance, Orochimaru's expression froze, and soon he saw Hai Laozang's head, which turned directly at 180 degrees. The skin on his face peeled off like thin sand, revealing the wooden face of a puppet. The sound of clack, clack, came out of the clenched mouth. Puppet clone technique. Orochimaru raised his brows, and soon saw the sand skin on the puppet in front of him peeling off instantly. 6 arms were like chains, instantly wrapped around Orochimaru's body. Second burst of black secret skills. Hai Laozang's voice suddenly came from behind a tree not far away. The chakra line in the hand and the puppet was suddenly changed. The puppet's body opened instantly, forming a big, hideous mouth, and swallowed it towards Orochimaru. Bang! At such a close distance, Orochimaru had nowhere to hide, and when he reacted, he was forced into his body by 6 arms. The opening of the machine was closed instantly. Kill! Hai Laozang succeeded in one move, and his hands and 10 fingers flew up again, and soon he saw the black ant puppet, and the 6 arms broke away instantly. With the sound of the machine, the venom-stained sharp blade hidden on the arm was ejected directly. The next moment, without any fancy, he pierced straight into the black ant's body. Chapter 227, The Most Difficult Person to Kill. PFF'd. The sharp blade Chigan sank into the black ant's body, and the scarlet blood splashed down, instantly dyeing the puppet's body red. Look of joy flashed across Hai Laozang's face when he witnessed this scene. However, before he was completely happy, a coquettish voice sounded beside him. "Be careful, Long Yu said that the most difficult person to kill in this world is Orochimaru." Hai Laozang couldn't help but look stagnant, and hurriedly looked at the black ants. The next moment, what caught my eye was the swelled torso of the black ant. Bang! Black ant's body shattered in response, and a large snow-white snake covered in blood charged towards Hai Laozang at a speed like thunder. Black secret skill puppet shield. Hai Laozang's face changed drastically, and before he had time to think about it, he took out a scroll with his backhand and summoned a puppet in response. Bang! As soon as the pepperfish appeared, it instantly opened the chakra shield hidden on its body. Blue light, a shield that was said to be able to withstand dozens of tons of boulders, was formed. It turned out to be the old immortal of Sand Ninja Village. No wonder the means are so good. Orochimaru's eyes flickered, and his scarlet tongue stuck out. Under the lacing of the white cold light in the mouth, the sword of Kusanagi, which was hidden in it, quickly extended in an instant. With an awe-inspiring sound of breaking through the air, he stabbed at the chakra shield first. PFF'd. The seemingly indestructible shield made a crisp air vibration. The next moment, like a piece of paper, it penetrated directly, and the snow-white blade went straight to Hai Laozang's throat. The violent scene made Hai Laozang never imagined it. However, the Kusanagi sword is known as the sharpest and strongest artifact. For these temporary defenses, it is obviously a bit unstoppable. At such a close distance, the only thing that can be done is to watch the attack approach. Boiled and steamed to kill. Yi King arrived first, and the fireballs in both hands converged instantly, turning into a streamer and smashing on the Sanjiao fish first. Bang! The dull explosion sounded suddenly, and the huge air wave impacted, directly blowing the Sanjiao fish into the air. Under the power of the flying, the attack trajectory of the Kusanagi sword also changed. Hai Laozang suddenly came to his senses, and with the help of the blast, he quickly pulled away and retreated. Sand Ninja Village Rebel Ninja Yi King. 1. Orochimaru suddenly changed his expression when he saw Yi King, who suddenly inserted his hand horizontally and ruined his good things. Attack could be retracted. A ghostly figure was seen grabbing behind Yi King. Caught you. Bei Liu, whose face was hideous and eager, his hands formed a seal, and he pressed it directly on Yi King's body. Facing this sudden enemy attack, King's expression suddenly changed. Just now, in order to save Hai Laozang, he didn't put any guard behind him at all, so that Bei Liu could take advantage of it. Seeing that at such a close distance, there is absolutely no way to hide, the only thing that can be done is to use the scorching escape and steam to kill, with the help of the air wave of the explosion to withdraw and retreat. However, having performed steam kill at such a distance was completely a decision to kill 1,000 enemies and lose 800. Little carelessness could lead to serious injuries. However, messy thoughts flashed in Yi King's mind just now. Soon she saw a white cold light brushing past her side, piercing Bei Liu's chest. When the crisp metal collision sound suddenly sounded, and under the reinforcement of steel gun, Bei Liu's chest was also stabbed 2 or 3 points. Huge impact, directly in the air. The Kiryu hurricane that came flying flew out. When Bei Liu landed more than 10 meters away, he completely stood on his heels, stared at the wound on his chest, his face sank, and he roared angrily. Orochimaru, what are you doing? Blow just now. He chose the right time to instantly block Yi King's actions and subdue her directly. But I never thought that at this juncture, Orochimaru would fall off the chain. Facing the two people who were in an instant infighting, Yi King's expression couldn't help but stagnate, and he looked at Orochimaru, who swallowed the Kusanagi sword back into his body, with a gloomy expression on his face, a look of confusion on his face. In Yi King's memory, she and Orochimaru didn't have much intersection. This is also the first time we meet, and there is no kindness. Moreover, Konoha Ninja Village and Sand Ninja Village have been at war for many years. Not long ago, in the Third Ninja War, it was their two big ninja villages that took the lead in fighting. Right now, Orochimaru had a very good reason to shoot at her, but he was a little puzzled as to why he wanted to save her. Facing the confused gazes of everyone, Orochimaru's face was no longer good-looking. After looking at Yi King one more time, he said, "You can't move this person, the transaction is over." The inexplicable words made Bei Liu's expression stagnate for a while, and he was the first to lose his breath and said, "Dashi-wan, you are damaging your prestige. If there is no sufficient reason, how can anyone dare to cooperate with you in the future? If you don't explain things clearly today, don't blame me for being rude to you." The cold and stern words came out, making the atmosphere in the field change again. Hai Laozang got this chance to breathe, and with his expression changed, he hurried to Yi King's side. He didn't know why Orochimaru would take action to save Yi King, but in this case, he still had to be wary of Orochimaru. Otherwise, if you take it lightly as you did just now, facing one of the old Konoha Sannin, I am afraid you will fall into a state of doom. As the confrontation unfolded, an indescribable depression spread through the forest. Everyone's eyes turned around and locked on Orochimaru's body, as if trying to find the answer from his face. HMPH, Beluhu, it's your business if you want to die, I don't want to lose my life with you. Orochimaru snorted coldly and said with a sullen face, "You know that Yi King is a traitor, but you don't know that she joined Uchiha Ryu's command. If you let him know that you assassinated his subordinates, how do you think Uchiha Ryu would react?" The boy's subordinate. Beiyuhu's face changed drastically. Not long ago, that shocking battle was still vivid in my mind. If the woman in front of him is really related to Uchiha Ryu, at the same time, he succeeded in the blow just now. Waiting for him, I am afraid it is the monstrous anger of Uchiha Ryu. Thinking of this, a chill appeared on Beiyuhu's spine, and his wandering eyes locked on Yi Kang's body indefinitely. After a full 7 or 8 seconds, Beiyuhu's expression changed several times, and he breathed a sigh of relief. Little girl, it turns out that you and Uchiha Ryu know each other, but it was just a misunderstanding just now. I hope you don't take it to heart. A slightly sinister smile appeared on Beiyuhu's face. Yi Kang and Hailao Zhang couldn't help but stunned at the rapidly changing face, but they had no way to react. However, the thought of this pause just popped up in my mind, and the next moment I saw it, but instead it was a roar like a mad roar. Chapter 228, Take My Move. Little girl, do you really think I'm as timid as Orochimaru? If I kill you now, that Uchiha Ryu doesn't know where he is. As long as I absorb your blood, and then hide for a while, how can that kid do to me? The hysterical roar was incessant, and Beiyuhu raised his right hand upwards, and the thunderclouds that had accumulated in the sky suddenly exploded. Cavity wave. The thunder and light all over the sky are like ferocious electric snakes, rushing out from the backlog of clouds. The next moment, like a gust of wind and rain, it slashed down with the force of a pouring down gesture. The dense and swift gesture instantly covered the woodlands with a radius of several hundred meters. The violent scene made Orochimaru's face change drastically. For him, an existence known as a forbidden technique in the original book, this kind of attack would never take his life. Of Yi King and Hailao Zhang, it is probably more difficult than reaching the sky to receive this blow in a short period of time. After all, Rei's speed is too fast. Yi King and Hailao Zhang, who seemed to be stunned in place, as if unable to react, a trace of ecstasy appeared on Beiyuhu's face. However, just as the smile appeared on his face, the playful voice that fell in his ear the next moment shook his nerves. This Rei looks good, but a little worse than mine. Black-spotted tigers. Roar. The roar of the tiger shook the hill, and the black thunder light appeared in the sky above Yi Kang at a speed that could not cover the ears of the black tiger. The seemingly fierce thunder light in the sky was torn to shreds like a piece of paper. The next moment, it soared into the sky, directly piercing the lead clouds accumulated in the sky. Boom! The black tiger burst open. The huge impact, the explosion storm that set off, directly washed away the backlog of rain clouds. The unexpected scene made everyone in the field startled. Black thunderbolts are very rare in the ninja world. However, the power that erupted just now was far more powerful than that of a thunderbolt. Someone in Yunnan village inherited the Black Thunder, which is one of the important symbols of inheriting Reikage. Hailao Zhang said with a solemn expression. As a consultant of Sand Ninja Village, he certainly knew where this method came from. However, as soon as these words fell, everyone hurriedly looked at the figure that caught their eyes first, but their pupils could not help shrinking. Uchiha Ryu. Orochimaru's expression changed drastically, and he subconsciously took a half step back. Now, he can't wait to press Beiyuhu to the ground, slap a few slaps fiercely, and blow his crow's mouth out. Whoever doesn't speak, must speak ill of this enchanting evildoer. All right now, as soon as this kid is mentioned, this kid appears. When I think of it, Long Yu and Uchiha Madara fought against each other not long ago. If I had known the goal earlier, I wouldn't be greedy for this little cheap. Hehe, Orochimaru, I just wanted to find you, but I didn't expect it to be such a coincidence. Long Yu smiled warmly. However, this smile, in their eyes, has a feeling of death. A slightly stiff smile appeared on Orochimaru's face and said, "You brat, don't you remember the battle just now? But, although I'm not your opponent, it doesn't mean that I can't escape." Long Yu was very clear about Orochimaru's methods. In the original Hokage novel, he is a man who is more difficult to kill than Kagaya. As long as there is a curse mark, it can be used as an opportunity to resurrect Orochimaru. Of course, this kind of resurrection also needs the help of outsiders, otherwise it will be very difficult to awaken the will left in the curse with just one Orochimaru. In the original book, Orochimaru was sealed by Uchiha Itachi using the Ten-Fist Sword. Sasuke brought Orochimaru back to life by unlocking the curse of Midori red beans. "Why did you find us?" Beiryuhu's expression changed, and he shouted in a hurry, "Orochimaru, don't forget the agreement between us. As long as we join forces, we will definitely do it. It must be something." Orochimaru licked his scarlet tongue and said, "Can we defeat Madara Uchiha together?" Beiryuhu's expression suddenly stiffened. Uchiha Madara's methods, he is obvious to all, the power of Nasu Sano, and Huodun, is not. Ordinary people can match. Let him go up, I'm afraid he won't be able to resist 2 or 3 times. Seeing Orochimaru, the chain fell at this juncture. Beiryuhu's face was gloomy to the extreme, and he said sharply, "Uchiha Ryu, what can you say? Are you also want to get the magic of Gyuluo?" In Beiryuhu's eyes, even Orochimaru coveted the technique of Gyuluo. In particular, the devouring blood and the undead body are enough to be called perverts in the ninja world. If Long Yu is willing to trade this, he may be able to use his hands to hunt other blood successor limiters. Once he got on this thigh, he would not have to act timidly in the future. Thinking of this, Beiryuhu's heart suddenly became hot. Looking at Long Yu's eyes, there was a little more fiery. However, the words that fell in his ear at the next moment instantly tightened his nerves. "Have you forgotten, Sanjiao Hanzo is a cunning old man. He left a space imprint on you, and I also secretly left one, so if you escape to the bottom of the sky, I can find you too." Long Yu smiled and threw the scroll in his hand. "However, if I can give Hanzo the chance to surrender, you can also have it. The premise is that you can take my trick." Hanzo has surrendered. Beiryuhu's face changed drastically. No, it should be said that Orochimaru and Halozang were no exception. This is a so-called demigod-like existence, and in the Second Ninja World War, it shined brilliantly. However, now he is surrendering to a young man who is only 17 or 18 years old. If he hadn't heard it with his own ears, I am afraid no one would believe it. For a time, everyone looked at Long Yu with an inexplicable taste. After Beiryuhu's face changed, he couldn't help but grit his teeth and said, "Okay, this is what you said, as long as I take your move, can I also choose to surrender?" Maybe ashamed to surrender in the face of others, but at this moment, it has undoubtedly changed. It can be said that as long as you can take Uchiha Ryu's move and get the chance to surrender, it is a symbol of strength. After all, even the boy in front of him, Madara Uchiha of the old legend of the Uchiha clan, can directly kick out an ending existence. You don't intend to hunt for those who have the blood and limit ability by surrendering to me, and then secretly borrowing my name. Long Yu smiled genially, looked at Beiryuhu, whose face changed suddenly, and said, "Don't worry, it doesn't matter what your purpose is, the important thing is, take my move first." Seeing that Long Yu didn't bite hard, Beiryuhu breathed a sigh of relief. Facing Long Yu's initial request, he actually had a plan. Chapter 229. Goodbye, Beiryuhu. After all, not long ago, he absorbed the ninja Nakagi who possessed the ninja village. Gain the ability to absorb ninjutsu. Otherwise, I would not dare to gamble with Uchiha Long Yu in person. Seeing, this is a trace of vitality, no matter what. After success, did Long Yu recruit him? As long as he took a chance to breathe, he would run away and hide for the time being. Only pity I felt was the loss of this rare scorching target. "Are you ready?" Long Yu urged with a smile. Beiryuhu suddenly recovered his senses, nodded and said, "I'm ready." Spoke, the bandages on Beiryuhu's hands were instantly undone, revealing a mysterious spell on his palms. "Oh, I almost forgot that you still have the means to absorb ninjutsu. It seems that you can absorb any ninjutsu. Long Yu raised his brows and said with a smile, "Don't worry, I won't change the rules, I will only use ninjutsu. However, I want to add a premise, which is to unlock the seal of the scroll of Guiyu Luo's technique in Orochimaru's hand." After unlocking the seal, Bei Liuhu and Orochimaru were stunned. Never occurred to me that Long Yu would even know this. However, this matter is not difficult for Long Yu to guess. According to Orochimaru, there is no prophet and early urine, and the only thing that can please him is the technique of Guiyu Luo. And for the sake of prudence, Beluhu will never reveal the entirety of Guiyu Luo's technique. The best way is to give half of it first. However, this kind of random speculation fell into the eyes of the two of them, but it became taller. It turns out that you have also taken a fancy to the technique of Guiyu Luo, no wonder you have gone around so many detours. Bei Liuhu returned to God, showing a hint of pride. It can be said that, as the tail of a crane in the tail of a crane, it can be sought after by people because of this ninjutsu. This is a kind of feeling, standing at the pinnacle of life. However, in the face of Long Yu's despairing strength, Bei Liuhu did not dare to take a fluke and took out another scroll with his backhand and threw it to Long Yu. "This is the other half. As long as you close the scrolls, you can get the complete Guiyu Luo technique. However, I advise you not to gamble with me. You should also know that I have a kind of ghost that can absorb any ninjutsu. If you are embarrassed in front of your beauty, I will feel a little sorry." "Shut up." Yi King's cheeks flushed, and he shouted in a deep voice, "Who is the beauty? Long Yu won't kill you, but I will remember the hatred just now." Looking at Yi King, who was in a hurry, Long Yu patted her on the shoulder and said, "Okay, write down your grudge first, but my bet has to go on, so let me get things done first." But Yi King was in a hurry. However, he was quickly winked by Hai Laozang. For Hai Laozang, it's pretty good to have no name now, so carefree in front of Long Yu like this. Only Yi King can do it. Seeing Long Yu walking out slowly, Bei Liuhu breathed a sigh of relief, worried that Long Yu would regret it and said, "Although, we already know the result, but let's be ashamed in public, don't blame me. Don't worry, I am the most trustworthy person." The smile on Long Yu's face grew even wider. The next moment, the right hand slowly protruded out, and under the eyes of the public, the 5 fingers were slightly tensed. A huge chakra surged out of the body, pouring into the palm like a horned dragon. Ninjutsu without knots. Beluhu's expression froze for a moment, and then he secretly rejoiced. Ninjutsu seals actually control the order of chakra changes in the body and play a guiding role. The more powerful some ninjutsu, the more jutsu marks are required. In the original book, Naruto learns the spiral pill, and every step of practice is to make the body's chakra remember every change. However, this idea just sprouted in Bailahu's mind. The next moment, a piercing screeching sound of air suddenly resounded. The frenzied wind escaped chakra, like a submerged dragon emerging from the abyss, gathering in Long Yu's palm. The moment when the wind escaped spiral pills condensed, with Long Yu as the center, a fierce wind that cut off his face was rolled up. Be applied, people can feel it with the naked eye. This azure blue, gem-like chakra sphere gives people an extremely dangerous taste. What the hell is this? Bei Liuhu's face changed drastically, and he couldn't help but take a half step back. I am willing to surrender, I will not accept this ninjutsu. I don't understand. Long Yu raised his head suddenly, his smile became brighter and he said, "I forgot to tell you, I am a person who has a special grudge, especially a woman's grudge, that is unforgettable. Goodbye, Bei Liuhu." The sudden voice made everyone in the field startled. The next moment, before they could react, the shuriken in Long Yu's hand threw out in response. The awe-inspiring sound of breaking the air suddenly sounded, and the madly spinning wind-escaped spiral pill, with a posture like tearing space, rolled towards Bei Liuhu. Just a few dozen meters, but in the blink of an eye. Facing this violent attack, Beluhu couldn't react at all, and could only hurriedly raise his hands to defend. The azure-blue sphere that swept in, with a sharp vibration sound, rolled out of the sky with a posture like tearing space. Of tens of meters is just a blink of an eye. Looking at the Fengdun spiral pill that was rapidly expanding in his pupils, Bei Liuhu had nowhere to hide. The only thing he could do was to raise his hands in a hurry, pouring the dormant chakra into his hands frantically, and roared angrily. Darkness to suck the whole. A jet-black vortex quickly emerged and condensed in front of Beluhu. As soon as it was condensed, it collided with the incoming wind escape spiral pill. Boom! The huge force of attraction and pulling instantly enveloped the incoming wind escape spiral pill. However, the Fengdun spiral pill has not been pulled in. The spiral pill formed by frantically squeezing and condensing was instantly detonated. Bang! The endless wind and waves were suddenly detonated, and the black dark cave that had just condensed expanded rapidly. The next moment, it exploded. The violent wind and air waves, like countless wind blades, directly enveloped Bei Liuhu. It even covered the forest trees with a radius of tens of meters in an instant. The trees, rocks, and rock formations that passed along the way were smashed into pieces in an instant. The violent scene made the faces of everyone in the field change drastically, and even Orochimaru had a feeling of trepidation, so he didn't have time to think about it and quickly retreated. After escaping 100 meters, he stopped and looked at the center of the storm with a solemn face. The chakra storm, which was as violent as a knife, lasted for dozens of seconds before it completely subsided. The ruins that are close to 100 meters, and the surrounding trees and rocks have long been smashed into pieces. The devastated deep pit, Bei Liuhu was like rags, covered with vertical and horizontal wounds, and fell into the rubble. Chapter 230. 3 generations of Fengying were hunted by scorpions. Apart from his slightly swivel eyes, Bei Liuhu obviously didn't even move half of his fingers. Seeing this scene, Orochimaru's face also turned pale, and he said solemnly, "Change the chakra to the extreme, and then compress the nature of the chakra of Fengdun, and then combine the two together. Power, like countless wind blades, a saturated and dense attack that can pierce even cells. Once you are hit, if there is no means to save your life, I am afraid you will die." Words fell, and Hai Laozang nodded solemnly in an instant. He also heard about the reputation of Konoha's rebellion against Bloody Asura and Uchiha Ryu. However, this is all at the level of hearsay. Now that I have personally witnessed this gesture, I have pinched the forbidden technique at my fingertips. This made Hai Laozang's heart suddenly tighten, and looking at Long Yu, his eyes became more dignified. "Okay, don't stare at me." Long Yu glanced at the ruins, and he was dying and said, "I didn't lie to you. You and Sanjiao Hanzo teamed up to attack me. I can write it off, but the person who moved your evil thoughts to me, this alone will be enough for you to die 10,000 times. Furthermore, I did only use one move, you can't take it, that's your problem, you deserve it if you die." You. Bei Liuhu's eyes suddenly widened, almost even popping out his eyeballs. If the eyes alone can kill people, it is enough to kill Long Yu tens of thousands of times. However, in the original work, there is no way for Bei Liuhu's Mingdun to absorb Naruto's Fengdun spiral pill. Not to mention, Long Yu used the system to increase the power to the ultimate wind escape spiral pill. Under the slight squirming of the mouth knot, except for the first word, Bei Liuhu almost split his eyes, and finally spit out a mouthful of blood and died directly. His immortal body can only reach the perfect level after absorbing 5 kinds of blood and following the limit. There are only 3 kinds of blood continuation limits on Bei Liuhu's body, and the immortal body has the ability to recover. But in such a dense and saturated attack, the chakra in Bei Liuhu was too late to recover from his injuries. The end, the chakra is exhausted, and it can only end up to the point of dying out. Dragon Feather. Yi Kang regained his senses and was the first to lose his temper. However, he soon saw Long Yu's hand, which quickly enlarged in his pupils, and then tapped directly on her forehead in full view of the public. "Okay, you can tell me if you promise yourself, but you won't need to speak politely. I am more vengeful than you. Also, Junmalu, go and collect Bailahu's body, don't let his chakra go away, bring a letter to that scorpion, and go back and be a puppet. Junmalu did not flash out in the dark and walked towards the ruins. When Hai Laozang heard the words, his face changed slightly, and he stopped talking, but still said through gritted teeth. Is the scorpion really under your command? Did he really kill the 3 generations of Kazekage, and what is he doing now? A series of questions blurted out. Yi King's face changed suddenly, he grabbed Hai Laozang's shoulder, and quickly winked. Looking at this scene, Long Yu couldn't help but rolled his eyes and said, "You girl, you are really unfamiliar. However, for your sake, I'll reveal a little bit of information to you. The 3 generations of Fengying were indeed hunted by the scorpion. As for him, he should be in the country of the wind now. In the land of wind." Hai Laozang's face changed drastically. If it is said that the former Red Sand Scorpion, he is also regarded as a descendant, or even a grandson-like existence. The art of puppets is also taught. However, after hearing Uchiha Longyu's words, it completely subverted his cognition. Even the 3 generations of Kazekage were hunted down. Regardless of whatever method is used, it also means that the scorpions have grown to an unpredictable level, enough to be regarded as a high-level betrayal. Not only did he not flee for his life, but he was still staying in the land of wind. This was undoubtedly the biggest time bomb hanging on his chest. Thinking of this, Hai Laozang couldn't hold back his breath. Yi King also saw the change in Hai Laozang's expression. After hesitating for a moment, he gritted his teeth and said, "Long Yu, can you let Hai Lao go first? He is kind to me, please see it for my sake." Speaking of this, Yi King's face filled with a hint of inexplicable hope, staring straight at Long Yu. However, as soon as the voice blurted out, she soon saw Long Yu put her hand on her forehead, and said angrily, "The old saying goes that it is the most difficult to accept the grace of a beautiful woman. It seems that I, Long Yu, will be a good old man in vain in this life. Don't worry, I'm not a bloodthirsty person either. Seeing you like this, I'm afraid you decided to go back to Sand Ninja Village." Seeing that Long Yu was relieved instantly, Yi King's face showed joy, but soon became more solemn, and nodded heavily. "I want to go back and find an answer, although I know it is dangerous, but Hai Lao will definitely keep me safe." Long Yu, don't worry, those bastards of Luo Sha dare to hide from us about this matter, I will definitely discuss with my sister for Yi King. On his forehead and expressed his position in a hurry. Right now, even Bei Liuhu, such an existence, can't handle Long Yu's casual move. He didn't believe that his old physique could carry 2 moves. "Okay, don't play tricks on me." Long Yu patted Hai Laozang on the shoulder, making him feel flattered, then he casually sent out a scroll and threw it to Yi King. "There is something to open this scroll, maybe it can save your life," Long Yu said lightly. Yi King took it subconsciously. He was stunned for a moment, and then he stopped talking, but in the end, he swallowed the words that came to his mouth, lowered his head and said, "I made you worry again, thank you. Little girl, something is wrong. Remember to open this scroll when you have nothing to do, and the boss will appear in an instant to meet you and discuss your life plan." Sanwei's voice came out suddenly. The miniature-tailed beast protruding under Long Yu's cloak, Hai Laozang was startled at first, but he didn't wait for him to recover. The next moment, the other 3-tailed beasts came into view, and Hai Laozang almost split his eyes. "Little Sanzi, what nonsense are you talking about? I won't chat with you, go first." Yi King's cheeks flushed, and he reached out and patted the back of the 3-tailed turtle, then turned around and ran away. "Haha, little girl, I'm not talking nonsense, as long as you want, the boss will definitely meet." Sanwei obviously didn't take these offenses to heart, and after laughing, laughed again. Looking at these tailed beasts that did not have the violent appearance of tears at all, Hai Laozang was astonished, but he didn't have time to think about it, and hurriedly fled from this place. For an outsider like him, this lineup was too terrifying. A young man whose strength is unknown, and he also carries 4-tailed beasts by his side. Chapter 231. Research on Mudden Cells. Looking at the entire ninja world, once it really makes a move, it will be difficult for the 5 major ninja villages to block its edge. Thinking of this, Hai Laozang's mind couldn't help tightening, and his face became more solemn. If he had a choice, he really didn't want to be the enemy of the young man in front of him. "Boss, aren't you chasing?" Sanwei couldn't help but said. However, Long Yu's forehead shuddered soon after. "Don't talk nonsense, I still have business to deal with. Do you still want to eat squid?" Blast! 4-tailed beasts heard the words, their faces instantly became hot. The spicy dried fish has already made them taste endless aftertaste, completely transitioning from air-hot to shoveling. If you add some fur, you can make people lick the cat. Right now, when Long Yu mentioned the squid, he was drooling and his chin got wet. That had completely lost their images. Long Yu shook his head helplessly, and after throwing a space scroll to them, he turned and walked to the side of the Orochimaru, whose expression changed, with a feminine and uncertain face. "Don't grab it, the boss gave it to me. You, my hot cuttlefish, pay me back quickly." "Oh my god, and duck chin salad. Don't rob, I'm going to explode." For a time, in the face of the delicious food that appeared in front of him, the pushing and shoving of the 4-tailed beasts fell into the eyes of Orochimaru, but it was full of the smell of gunpowder. It can be said that each of these tailed beasts is enough to be called the heavy weapon of a village. That's not a gang fight, it's a complete disaster for the ninja world. "Okay, we should do the math too." Long Yu smiled and looked at Orochimaru and said, "I thought you would run away just now." The sudden sound of words made Orochimaru suddenly come back to his senses, and the moment he met his eyes, he secretly breathed a sigh of relief. "I thought you would give me a forbidden technique as soon as you came up. It seems that I am in your mind. It's still a bit of a use value, and I'm also worried that you, like that guy, have made some space marks on me. You want to learn to be immortal and reincarnated. It's still the technique of Goiluo." For Uchiha Ryayu, Orochimaru from the beginning looked down on him, and now treats him very seriously. It can be said that one step is a pit. That was mistaken for sure was lost at a critical moment. It can be said that the most critical reason for this is that the strength of Uchiha Ryayu has been greatly miscalculated. Hehe, Orochimaru, if you want to get rid of me, isn't it a very simple problem? As long as you give up this skin, it shouldn't be difficult for you. Long Yu smiled and patted Orochimaru on the shoulder. "I'm not interested in the so-called undead reincarnation, or the technique of Guiyuluo. What I want is only technical information about the wood tunnel research and extraction." Orochimaru's research on Mudden cells was startled at first, and then he said unexpectedly, "It turns out that you are also interested in these human experiments. Is it only in your heart that Uchiha Madara was defeated by the first Hokage? So you plan to use Mudunchi to analyze the source of the ability of the first Hokage?" The slightly erratic words made Orochimaru more and more excited. It felt like finding someone in the same league. "Orochimaru, if you look like this, I will suspect that you are from the foot of Brokeback Mountain and like men." Long Yu couldn't help but rolled his eyes, looking at the fiery face. If he dared to take a step forward and his hands and feet would rise, Long Yu would definitely fly over. However, as soon as this idea came into his mind, Long Yu quickly thought of a more important matter, touched the tip of his nose, and said slightly embarrassedly, "Orochimaru, can I ask you a question? Are you wearing a handle now or not?" When Orochimaru heard this, the expression on his face suddenly stiffened. He has just entered the development stage of this immortal reincarnation, so it can be said that it is not bad to be able to find a good container. As for whether or not to bring a handle, does that count? Looking at the confused Orochimaru, Long Yu suddenly understood, patted his shoulder and comforted, "Don't worry, you are so handsome, you can still attack." "Acceptable." "You." Orochimaru was so angry that he almost spit out a mouthful of old blood. However, Long Yu's remarks made him unable to refute, let's not say whether there is any fault. But the strength doesn't allow it. In the face of the existence that even Madara Uchiha can overturn, and can instantly kill Beliu with a single move, he does not dare to make a fool of himself. After barely calming the discomfort in his heart, Orochimaru changed the subject with a livid face and said, "Long Yu, if I hand over the experimental data to you, you will let me go." For the experimental data, it may be the lifelong effort of many scientific madmen, and they would definitely rather die. But for Orochimaru, a scientific genius with a long life, it doesn't matter. Moreover, the experiment of mud and cells at the current stage, Dashuan has not made a breakthrough. So for him now, it's a bit of a bum. After barely calming the discomfort in his heart, Orochimaru changed the subject with a livid face and said, "Long Yu, if I hand over the experimental data to you, you will let me go." For the experimental data, it may be the lifelong effort of many scientific madmen, and they would definitely rather die. But for Orochimaru, a scientific genius with a long life, it doesn't matter. Moreover, the experiment of mud and cells at the current stage, Dashuan has not made a breakthrough. So for him now, it's a bit of a bum. "Don't worry, I won't cheat on you," Long Yu said with a dry smile. "Of course, if you didn't take a shot just now and help Yi King block a blow, I wouldn't mind killing you, and then find someone with a curse mark to resurrect you and continue talking about it. You know this too." Orochimaru's face changed instantly. It can be said that only he knows the secret between the immortal reincarnation and the curse mark. After all, the current Orochimaru has just defected from the Konoha ninja village, and there is no 5 people in the original book, and there is no such confidant. Therefore, if he is accidentally killed by Long Yu, the only way is to wait for the will left in the curse to recover. At the same time, the person who was planted with the curse can only do it if he has no power to suppress him. It can be said that the current Orochimaru is not like the original book, which can rely on immortality. Hehe, I also know a lot of things about you. If you arrange them, they can be used as pillows. Long Yu did not explain, and said, "Let's not go too far. In addition, give me the research materials of mud and cells, and lend me the laboratory to use it." "Also use the laboratory." Orochimaru's expression froze. He had just escaped from Konoha Ninja Village, and when he was Sannin, he secretly built a lot of laboratories. But every one of them is his hard work, and in this kind of war, it is even more important. Chapter 232, Invitation to the Five Shadows Conference. One less is one less now. However, after meeting Long Yu's smiling gaze, Orochimaru's last stubbornness was like a balloon, and he said with a wry smile, "Okay, but my nearest laboratory is also in the Kusanagi village. Don't worry, where did I leave a space spell, and with my pupil power, it doesn't take long to get there," Long Yu said with a smile. Orochimaru was stunned for a moment, looking at Long Yu's blood-like kaleidoscope writing wheel eyes that instantly flushed red. A flash of desire flashed in the depths of his pupils. Although this trace of desire was quickly restrained by him, he still couldn't escape Long Yu's eyesight, and said, "What's the matter? I'm interested in my kaleidoscope. If you want to grab it, let it go." Hearing these words, Orochimaru couldn't help shivering. The eyes are good, but you have to live to enjoy it. He didn't want to be killed by Uchiha Long Yu. After killing it once, he found the curse mark and resurrected, and killed it again. This kind of undead cycle, but thinking about it makes people feel hopeless. After calming down the thoughts in his heart a little, Orochimaru's expression returned to normal and said, "I am afraid that only the dead will contaminate your things, and it is not too early. Since you have space coordinates, then let me take a look at this kaleidoscope writing wheel eye. The mystery of it. Is it?" Long Yu did not delve into it, killing Beliu who had already achieved the intention of knocking the mountain and shaking the tiger. Now what he wants to do is not to let Orochimaru extract mud and cells for himself. In the face of this kind of viper conspirator lurking in the dark, Long Yu is not at ease, whether he will make some small tricks in private. Life in your own hands. Kunmaru, let's go. Long Yu glanced at Junmalu, who was gathering quickly, and then the 9-hook jade kaleidoscope suddenly turned down, the tyrannical pupil power was vented, and a space crack was instantly torn in the void. Looking at this deep space crack, Orochimaru was stunned at first, and then his face showed shock. Other hand, in the Urinine village. A miraculous battle broke out in Wushan town, but because of this small town, a large number of people had already fled. Only a few ninjas died, and even the most important Sanshoyu Hanzo survived. Didn't have much impact on Urin village. Many Anbu ninjas have been screened out of the heavily guarded conference hall. Staying here, there are only Sanshoyu Hanzo, Nagato 3, and Kosuke 3. In addition to the calm staring at each other, there is also a series of silences, which makes the atmosphere in the field a little bit more depressing. Well, it won't be of much use for us to continue watching like this. Sanjiao Hanzo was the first to speak, breaking the silence in the arena. Now, I have surrendered to Uchiha Ryu's command, and I believe you are too. No, who said we? Chang opened his mouth to refute, but he was quickly covered by Yahiko, and soon ushered in Emil, White Eyes. Yes, we made a bet with Long Yu, and we are willing to admit defeat, and now we are also human. Yahiko also said in a deep voice. There are a lot of grievances between us, but now we are all the subordinates of others. These things are waiting for Long Yu to decide. I think Your Excellency Hanzo should have no objection. For them, sitting face to face with Sanshoyu Hanzo now can make a violent shot. But without Long Yu's support, with Nagato's half-bucket of reincarnation eyes, it would be a joke at all. As for Konoha's 3 genin, I'm afraid they will only watch the show on the sidelines. Whether they will help out for Long Yu's sake, even they dare not gamble. Okay, I'm very pleased with your decision. I didn't expect that the Shao organization would also have a leader who understands what the big picture is. Sanseiyu Hanzo also secretly breathed a sigh of relief. As long as he doesn't face Uchiha Ryu, as a demigod man, he is sure to keep these people. However, Yahiko admitted his relationship with Long Yu, and once he really fell out, he wouldn't be able to take action. Right now this result is the best. However, Sanjiao Hanzo did not get entangled in this issue, and the conversation changed. Eyes fell on Jia, and he said in a deep voice, You 3, if you have stayed until now, you should have something to give to me. As the gap between the 5 great powers, the most powerful is Urin village, it can be said that the existence of Hanzo is also very important. Kosuke's expression changed slightly. After looking at Yahiko and the others, he sighed and said, This time we are ordered to invite Uchiha Ryu to participate in the assembly of the 5 Shadows Conference. But also by the order of the 3 generations of Hokage, I invited Your Excellency Hanzo to discuss it. Although Your Excellency Hanzo has now become a member of Ryu, we want you to go there and convince the other 4 major countries to avoid fighting with Uchiha Ryu. You should be very clear that once you really fight, the ninja world what shocks will happen. When they came, Jia and others' comments on Long Yu were still hearsay. But after seeing with their own eyes that Uchiha Madara was also smashed, they clearly knew that Uchiha Ryu had gone beyond their cognition. If you are a little careless, you may fall into a state of doom. Therefore, if Kosuke is asked to think about it, he is absolutely unwilling to be an enemy of God. The huge conference hall fell into a dead silence. Everyone stared at Jia with a hint of surprise on their faces. In their eyes, the rise of Uchiha Ryu, as well as the way of doing things, can be said to be something that the 5 major countries cannot tolerate. The tail beast is one of the most important weapons for the 5 major countries. For a time, the eyes of everyone in the field were locked on Sanshoyu Hanzo's body. Now that Long Yu is not there, Hanzo has undoubtedly become the highest talker in Urin village. It should be a prerequisite for you to invite Lord Long Yu to participate in the 5 Shadows Conference. Sanshoyu Hanzo suddenly opened his mouth. Of the 3 of Kosuke, 3 couldn't help but stagnate for a while, of course they knew this condition. When they came, they thought to themselves that it was an excellent step down. However, after seeing the relationship between Long Yu and the four-tailed beasts, this idea completely changed. After hesitating for a while, Jia sighed quietly. The proposal of the 3 generations of Hokage is to let Long Yu return the tailed beast, and then write off the grievance between the 5 major countries and Uchiha Long Yu. Return the tail beast. Xiaonan couldn't help but stunned for a moment, and then stopped when he was about to speak, but was stopped by Yahiko shaking his head. Right now, they know that the organization is under the command of Long Yu with Sanjiao Yu Hanzo. However, now the 3 generations of Hokage are inviting Yurin village, not. They know their organization. Now that they are talking indiscriminately, if other effects are caused, I am afraid that they know the organization and cannot escape. Jia, you should know very well that even if I go, the result will not change. It will be more difficult for Lord Long Yu to hand over a group of tailed beasts than ascending to the sky. Once that time comes, the meeting will not only fail to negotiate peace. If it succeeds, it may lead to war. Sanseiyu Hanzo said in a deep voice. This time, the old man Sarutobi is probably confused. If I really go, I won't do things according to your ideals. You have to think about it clearly. Chapter 233, Red-Haired Kid. This. Jia ended, and after a moment of indifference, he said, Okay, then please, Your Excellency Hanzo, come with me and let's go. As for everything you said, I will inform Hokage-sama in advance, as for the departure time. Speaking of which, Kosuke looked at the Sanshoyu Hanzo. There are only 4 days before the meeting, we will immediately. Let's go. Sanshoyu Hanzo stood up straight, his eyes suddenly turned and fell on Yahiko. Right now, like me, you are acting under the command of Your Excellency, and the Akatsuki organization has never been recognized by all countries. Just because it can't involve things at the political level, I will go to Konoha Ninja Village with me, and you should make an appearance. Let's go too. Nagato was startled for a moment. Long time, Sanjiao Yu Hanzo was just a smiley face to them, let alone let them know that the organization rose to the political level. It would be nice to suppress them less. A feeling of being flattered that they, suddenly elevated to the political hierarchy right now. It was inevitable that Nagato had a feeling of being uncomfortable. Thank you, Your Excellency Hanzo. Since we are fighting for the bargaining chip for Lord Long Yu, our Shao organization will of course go there. Yahiko let out a deep breath. I've been waiting for this opportunity for too long. In particular, the place where the 5 Shadows meeting was held was Konoha Ninja Village. That's where their teachers grew up. It is an honor to be able to meet the teacher again as an invitation. Most of all, Yahiko never imagined that he had spent all his efforts and could not be able to squeeze into the upper echelons of politics. Because of Uchiha Ryu's identity and influence, he could easily do it. Thinking of this, Yahiko couldn't help clenching his fists. He clearly knew that all of this was due to strength. Don't thank me first, you and I go together, which means that we will stand on the same front. Any decision will make you the public enemy of the 5 major countries, and it will also be unacceptable to the ninja world, unless you want to hold rather than the determination to be the enemy of the world, or else you must consider it carefully. Sanjiao Yu Hanzo explained in a deep voice. Yahiko patted the dust on his body, stood up in front of everyone's eyes, and said with a smile, When I joined the command of Lord Long Yu, I already had the consciousness of being the enemy of the world. Our strength may be comparable to that of Your Excellency Hanzo. There is still a gap, but the determination is no less. Yes, Yahiko is right. Xiaonan also hurriedly agreed. However, feeling the strange gazes from all around, his cheeks couldn't help blushing, and he explained anxiously, Don't get me wrong, I'm just a member of the Shao organization, and of course I have to express my position on the leader's proposal. Looking at Xiaonan, who was almost shy and buried his head in his chest, Jia laughed and said, Then let's go quickly, I hope that boy Long Yu don't mess up again during this period. Along with Sanjiao Yu Hanzo's decision, Nanning's determination to become the enemy of the world. The Five Shadows Conference, which has been restarted once again, is like a gear, and it has been transported. However, no one except Uchiha Ryu will know what the final result of this gear will be. Other side, on the side of Kusanagi village, a time-space crack was torn open. Followed by Orochimaru and Junmaru. Just standing firm, Orochimaru couldn't wait to look around. Big in front of you. A piece of ruins, but Orochimaru's expression suddenly changed. Looking at the cracks in time and space that gradually dissipated behind him, his heart was full of fiery. However, when he thought of Long Yu's frightening strength, the fiery heat was quickly suppressed by him. Right now, he doesn't dare to make an idea on Long Yu. Even if he gets this thing, I'm afraid it will be a blessing but no longevity. Whoosh! Sound of breaking the air suddenly sounded, instantly pulling back Orochimaru's thoughts. I hurriedly followed the sound, and what I saw was the kunai that had been plundered. However, before he could react, a thin figure jumped out first. Muscles on the backs of both hands squirmed, and the next moment I saw two solid white bones, which pierced out in an instant, like two sharp knives, quickly flying up. Directly hit the incoming kunai with precision. Looking at this scene, Orochimaru's eyes shrank slightly, and there was a feeling of déjà vu, and he suddenly woke up and said, "This is the Konoha-style knife technique." He has studied such subtlety at such a young age. For Orochimaru's surprise, Long Yu didn't take it to heart. It can be said that if you want to choose the first general under the command of Orochimaru in the original book, it is definitely Junmaru. Originally, he was proficient in the way of bone knife attack, but now he is just learning some Konoha-style swordsmanship, which is not difficult. Who are you, dare to break into the forbidden area of our grass ninja village? More than a dozen grass ninjas rushed in from all directions. In a surrounding posture, the three of Long Yu were surrounded by three groups. An inexplicable smell of slaughter filled the air. Ruins, a smell of slaughter filled the air, adding to an inexplicable feeling of depression. Feeling these grassy eyes that were coveted by tigers, Long Feng didn't stop for a moment, left a few words, turned around and left. We were just passing by. Passing by, looking at these swaggering people who invaded the forbidden area, leaving a passing sentence, they want to turn around and leave. A group of grass ninjas, their cheeks could not help twitching, this is deceiving too much. Stop them for me. The leader was burly and grassy, and his face darkened and he shouted angrily. I suspect that you sneaked into our village and took away that red-haired kid. Red-haired brat. Long Yu raised his brows involuntarily. In his memory, people with red hair should be related to the Vortex clan. It has been a while since the kingdom of Vortex was destroyed. Those surviving villagers were more or less plundered and annexed by other villages and became an alternative weapon of their family. After all, in the ninja world, the members of the Vortex clan who possess the awakened immortal body are the sweet pastry of the tailed orcs. Some small villages may not have tailed beast weapons, but as long as they operate a little or two, they can still be sold as commodities. As for awakening other abilities, it may also be able to add some alternative power to the village. Boy, from the look on your face, I know that this red-haired brat is going to keep you even more. Kusanagi, who took the lead, roared in a deep voice. The moment the double surgery seal flew over quickly, the next moment I heard an unexpected speech. Kunmalu, this matter is left to you. Long Yu's expression was indifferent, and he had no intention of making a move. The inexplicable words fell in the ears of the other Kusanagi, causing the cheeks to twitch involuntarily. Chapter 234, Grass Forbearance. In their eyes, in the face of more than a dozen grass ninjas, they even let a little kid deal with it. This must be a joke. Seeing Junmaru nodding his head and walking out of the crowd, Kusanagi, who took the lead, sank and roared angrily. Boy, are you telling us to see a joke? Send a brat to fight with us, despise us like this, go to hell. Wind escape grass dragon slash. The weeds growing around were affected by the wind that rolled up in an instant. The next moment, in full view of the public, it fell off directly, rolled with the wind, turned into a sharp green blade that filled the sky, and stabbed towards Junmalu Hengkong. The violent scene strained everyone's nerves. The short distance of more than 10 meters, under the extreme attack speed, was only shortened in the blink of an eye. After everyone reacted, Junmalu still gave people a feeling like a sculpture, standing in place without the slightest reaction. Kusanagi, the leader who witnessed this scene, flashed a ferocious look on his face, and roared again. "Sure enough, it's a cheap bone, show us a joke, you can die." Roaring together, the grass blades that attacked from the sky instantly enveloped Junmalu's body. The next moment, the fire suddenly lit up, and a low explosion sounded suddenly. Boom! The flames soared into the sky, and there was an explosion of air waves that rolled backwards. Orochimaru and Long Yu flickered, and they had already withdrawn and landed on the tree branch. Looking at the scene of the explosion below, Orochimaru took the lead and stretched out his scary scarlet tongue and licked his red lips. "After talking so much nonsense, it turns out that it's to distract other people and mix in the detonation spell in the attack. It seems that those Kusanagi who only stealthily learn ninjutsu from other big countries have also made some progress. In Hokage, not every ninja village can produce ninjutsu masters like the second-generation Hokage Senju Tobarama. Some small ninja villages can gather because of the systematic way of learning ninjutsu. But as for the so-called innovation, it is to make a slight modification after learning from the ninja techniques of other great powers. Form their own unique ninjutsu." However, this arrogant comment fell in the ears of a kind of grass ninja, but their faces changed drastically. Most importantly, a ridiculous idea also appeared in their minds. They are too fast. They can react directly and retreat at the moment of discovering the explosion. In their grass ninja village, only a few people can do it. "Don't panic, we have a lot of people here. We have solved one first, and then we will consume it." Kusanagi, who took the lead, obviously saw the change in other people's minds. After all, the forbidden area of their grass ninja village was razed to the ground by the inexplicable battle of destroying the world. Afterwards, it didn't cause much harm, but for their grass ninjas, it was obvious that the wind and the trees were all soldiers, like a bird with a startled bow. "When I see a slightly more powerful ninja, I get 14 points of spirit." However, as soon as these words fell, Kusanagi, who took the lead, looked suddenly. The rewinding explosion wave stagnated. In the next moment, there is no waiting for them to react. A ghostly figure rushed out of it. That fell in their ears shook the nerves even more. "You are not even a joke, you are wasting the boss's time." Junmalu's slender body is covered with sharp white bone armor. That he developed based on the lay-done armor after he followed Long Yu. Corpse vein white bone armor. Take advantage of this defensive strength, which is said to be comparable in hardness to that of fine steel, coupled with the ability of the immortal body to recover quickly. It is enough to make Junmalu's defense power reach a terrifying level. "Little devil, you are too arrogant." Kusanagi, who took the lead, was stunned for a moment, then he pulled out the short knife behind his back and slashed towards Junmalu. The 4 or 5 who followed behind him, Nagao shinobi, didn't have time to think about it, and they all wanted to help. However, in the face of this closed attack, Junmalu suddenly raised his head under the watchful eyes of everyone. His hands clasped together suddenly, and the indifferent voice came out again. "The corpse veins are early in the dance of the fern." The simple words were spit out, and the air-tearing sound suddenly sounded in the next moment. Only 3 or 4 meters away from the encirclement of Kusanagi and the others, Junmalu, like a hedgehog, ejected a row of white bones from his body. The bones are like long spears, and the number is even more dense, like a violent storm, blasting out in all directions. Poof! Such a saturating means of attack at such a close distance. The grass ninja in the field was completely unable to hide, and was instantly penetrated by the bone spear. Blood splattered, and those eyes full of disbelief looked down at the body that had been penetrated. And the young man in the center of the bones, he finally understood what Junmalu said just now, which was not even a joke, what it meant. If people from the outside world know that their dignified grass ninja village elite was killed by a 5 or 6-year-old kid, the joke is simply not funny. Suffice to say, it's a bit horrific. Now the little devil is too perverted. Ruins, the bones were thick and the blood was pouring on the ground, and the ground was stained red. Orochimaru, who was standing on the tree branch, had already withdrawn and dodged again, and landed on the farther tree branch, his face full of shock. This is Wu Nin village, a descendant of the Bamboo clan, who has such bloodline talent. Orochimaru said in a hurry. However, this kid is really ruthless, and he directly killed these grass ninjas. Haha, isn't so many trials just a waste of time? It's also a peace of mind to start making big moves. Long Yu smiled and fell to the ground. Orochimaru was stunned at first, and then he remembered the battle between Long Yu and Uchiha Madara not long ago. In his eyes, Long Yu is completely the existence of the big move. Then I opened the meteorite, and I opened 3 meteorites. This writing is perverted. No, it should be said that if he is an old pervert, then Junmalu is also a little pervert. Those who follow him are all perverts. Boss, the shot is a bit heavier, but there is still a living hole left. Junmalu indifferently looked at the grass ninja who was slashing down with a knife and said, "Don't pretend to be dead, the next time I attack, I will pierce your heart." "No, don't kill me, I can tell you anything you want to know." Kusanagi, who took the lead, begged for mercy in a hurry. His chest was pierced, but his heart was the opposite of that of ordinary people. It can be said that because of this reason, he recovered a small life in many battles. Looking at the panicked Kusanagi, Junmalu subconsciously looked at Long Yu. Long Yu patted Junmalu on the shoulder and motioned him to remove all these terrifying bone spears. Kusanagi, who got a chance to breathe, fell directly to the ground, covering the pierced chest, and the bones that were left behind looked horrified. "Okay, tell me, where is that red-haired kid's head?" Long Yu looked at Kusanagi calmly. Chapter 235, Lord of Ghost Lantern City. I don't know where she fled, and we are also here under the order of the Lord of Ghost Lantern to pursue her. Sao Ren hurriedly begged for mercy. "Sir, don't kill me, I really don't know anything." Ghost Lantern City Lord. Long Yu raised his brows and couldn't help being a little surprised. In the original work, the ninjas from Kusanagi village are even fewer than those from Taki Shinobi village. Right now, the city lord of Ghost Lantern City, if Long Yu remembers correctly, should also be a ruthless character. However, looking at the grass ninja who asked 3 questions, Long Yu sighed helplessly. The 9-goose jade kaleidoscope writing wheel suddenly turned, and the tyrannical illusion and hypnosis unfolded in an instant. Kusanagi's expression changed drastically, like seeing a ghost. They are grassroots ninjas, but in order to survive, they are more aware of the trend of the ninja world. It can be said that the characteristics of the largest 9-hooked jade kaleidoscope writing wheel eye of the blood-colored Asura Uchiha Ryayu, who have recently gained fame in the ninja world, are well known. However, before he could react, the next moment the whole person fell into a trance and was completely hypnotized. After a while, Long Yu's brows furrowed even tighter. This Kusama ninja village was mostly destroyed after the battle between him and Uchiha Madara. The original strength in the village has also plummeted. Moreover, Madara Uchiha and Kurohue have been hiding in the Kusanagi village for a long time, and they have also controlled some upper-level Kusanagi through various forbidden techniques. Madara Uchiha was killed. It was obvious that he didn't have time to unlock these curse marks, so when he died, many Kusanagi died with him. A result, the grass ninja village fell into a strife of forces. It even led to the emergence of competition for ninjas in the village. Among them, the 2 biggest parties are Hungry Ghost, the new head of the original grass ninja village. Another convenience is the Ghost City Lord in the mouth of these grass ninjas. Long Yu, this grass ninja village won't be destroyed by you, right? Orochimaru couldn't hold his breath. However, he soon attracted the murderous gaze of Junmaru. For this little junior, Orochimaru doesn't take it to heart at all, but fighting dogs also depends on the owner, not to mention Uchiha Ryu, which is no exception. Come on, tell me where the lab is. Long Yu didn't answer directly. He casually threw Kashinin, who had rolled his eyes in a coma, aside, and said, however, I'm going to get a little devil's head back first. Looking at Long Yu, who had already made up his mind, Orochimaru stopped talking, but still swallowed the words that came to his mouth. Orochimaru doesn't take the internal strife in the grass ninja village to heart. On the contrary, he was surprised that Long Yu had to stand up for a little devil. He was very curious about the origin of this kid who was targeted by Long Yu and did not hesitate to offend the grass ninja village. Outside the grass ninja village, it was temporarily built. Dark Shadow sneaked in like a ghost, and finally chose the most central room and drilled in. As soon as the Black Shadow set foot on this place, a sand sound suddenly sounded. You finally came back, thinking that as soon as you left, I was left with this mess. Wearing a black cloak and eyes glowing with green light walked out. Soon, in this dim hall, immediately, the lights were turned on, and it was soon able to see clearly, this intruding figure. Wu Wei, I'm just going out to do something, do I have to explain this to you in advance? Heiju said coldly. He and Madara Uchiha stayed here that day, and of course they kept other backers. And this one has great ambition, but the strength are insufficient, will undoubtedly become the target of the most powerful mouth guns. Under a few mouthfuls, the grass ninja village, which was already in chaos, was instantly turned into a rebellion by Wu Wei. In Heiju's eyes, the power of Long Yu now makes him powerless. In your hands by sprouting small dark seeds to deal with Uchiha Long Yu. In particular, this time Danzo and others allied strangulation. Failure made Heiju pay more attention to Wu Wei's chess piece. Of course, if the recent alliance strangulation succeeded, perhaps Heiju would never come back to this broken place. HMPH, Heiju, since you're back, I'm too lazy to talk nonsense with you. Wu Wei snorted coldly. During this time, according to Heiju's guidance, his strength has skyrocketed. Originally, he was just a grass ninja village, in charge of the Shangnin in the Ghost Lantern City prison. But after his strength was improved, he took the lead in capturing Ghost Lantern City, claiming to be the city owner of Ghost Lantern City, and even released the various prisoners detained in it. Use this to increase your power. Of course, there are pros and cons to this move. 67% of the prisoners in Ghost Lantern City surrendered to him, but there were also many who escaped. In particular, some ninjas from other villages were hunted back, among them, the red-haired kid's parents who claimed to be able to heal any injuries with a single bite, made Wu Wei pay more attention. After all, in the field, with this mobile milk, once injured, take a bite directly. This is completely invincible, allowing him to fight without worries. Okay, let's not talk about it here, how is that thing ready? Black said in a low voice. The face of Wu Wei, he is not as obedient as Uchiha Madara. It can be said that in the eyes of Heiju, in the huge ninja world, there are only a few people who can make him pretend to be cowardly. As for the inaction in front of him, it is obvious that it has not yet reached this level. HMPH, that thing is my lifeblood, of course I'm ready, but you promise me that you will be able to open it. This is the foundation of restoring the glory of Grass Ninja Village. Wu Wei snorted coldly and said sharply. Hee, don't worry, if I take action, your ideas will soon be tested. Darkness laughed out loud. Soon Wu Wei took the psychic scroll in his hands. However, before they could continue their conversation, a rush of footsteps came from outside. Someone is here. I'll take this thing away first. If there is an emergency, I can be reverse-channeled. Heiju glanced at the corridor. For him, Wu Wei was originally just an insignificant pawn. In the beginning, he just deliberately leaked the whereabouts of the box of bliss. Of ambition in his heart. Unexpectedly, now a little bit of fiddling, and after a bit of talk, let him go to the dark. This made Black couldn't help but feel complacent. After all, in the past thousands of years, there have been 9 out of 10 turmoils that he has secretly promoted behind the scenes. The existence of such a small person's big ambition, Heiju is actually a grasp of it. Heiju's departure. 4 figures wearing various animal masks walked into the corridor. 4 of them appeared, they scattered around. After looking around for a while, the monkey-headed man wearing the monkey's head took the lead and said in a deep voice, "Wu Wei, the one you said has already left, why didn't you show us a face?" As soon as these words came out, the eyes of the remaining 3 people were also locked on Wu Wei. Chapter 236, Mix In. Wu Wei was able to ascend so quickly from a superior position, except for the appearance of Heiju, which allowed him to obtain the Box of Bliss. It is also because of the help and support of these 4 senior officials of the Grass Ninja Village. After all, the ninja world is now in a coma, and it has become more and more turbulent because of the appearance of Uchiha Ryu. Let the Grass Ninja Village see the destination of ambition. If you are in the 5 Great Ninja Village, you are tired of dealing with Konoha's blood-colored Asura Uchiha Ryu. Unlock the Box of Bliss, promise to conquer the world and gain more powerful power. At that time, even if the 5 major countries reacted, I am afraid that the rice is already cooked. Their Grass Ninja Village can also use this to become the 6th largest country. Thinking of this, the eyes of the 4 senior officials of Grass Ninja Village couldn't help but show a trace of fiery heat. HMPH, although that guy likes to hide his head and show his tail, but the means and methods he possesses are unbelievable. Wu Wei said in a low voice. Especially the confinement technique he instructed us. As long as it is slightly combined with the ninjutsu of our Grass Ninja, the power is even more unexpected. Seeing the happy look on Wu Wei's face, the 4 senior Grass Ninjas also fell silent. Thinking of the fire prison technique, not only can imprison the chakra in the human body. Once the chakra is forcibly refined, the fire prison seal will be activated, and the refined chakra will also turn into a fiery flame, burning itself. Moreover, if the distance from the caster is too far, it will trigger the eruption of its own curse mark, which will directly burn itself. As for other confinement techniques, if they are used in their hands, they can easily subdue any Jonin. 4 people 4 team up, theoretically, even the shadow-level powerhouse, if caught off guard, I am afraid that it will also be recruited and suffer a lot. Thinking of this, the people present became completely fiery, and the eyes that looked at Wu Wei became more fiery. Wu Wei, did that one. Say, when will the Box of Bliss be opened? The Tauren spoke first. A look of contemplation flashed across Wu Wei's face, and he said in a deep voice. He said, it's almost time, but recently he has absorbed a lot of chakras of unknown origin. The amount of chakra absorbed during this period of time is several times what we have obtained in the past 6 months. According to this calculation, it is enough to unlock the seal of the Box of Bliss and achieve our wish before the 5 major countries can react. The slightly elusive voice made the 4 senior officials of the Grass Ninja Village in the field, their eyes flickered, full of excitement and urgency. Okay, since Wu Wei is so sure, then next, kill the guy supported by the daimyo first, and completely control the Grass Ninja Village. Only then can we grow rapidly and have the strength to challenge the 5 major countries. The goat-headed man said in a deep voice. I heard that the girl you want, Wu Wei, is also in the hands of the hungry ghost. Is it? Wu Wei raised his brows, showing an unexpected look. Then let's go now. The situation of the division of the Grass Ninja Village has been too long, and a person with courage is needed to lead the Grass Ninja Village to become stronger. As soon as these words came out, they were immediately recognized by other people. After looking at each other, they all turned into a breeze and disappeared in place. Watching these people leave, Wu Wei also turned around. Other hand, Grass Ninja Village, in front of the gate that was built. Long Yu appeared here with Orochimaru and Junmaru. The black auspicious cloud cloak on his body is very conspicuous, and as soon as it appears at the gate of the Grass Ninja Village, it attracts the attention of the guard ninja. Wait a while, I'll find an excuse first and see if I can get in. Ryu raised his head hidden under the cloak, revealing the appearance of Yahiko. This time, Long Yu came to Grass Ninja Village just to take away the people who were suspected to be the Uzumaki clan. Wei, I would like to see if there are any about the ruins of Uchiha Madara's laboratory and experience handbooks in the Kusanagi village. After all, Madara Uchiha will never give up his study of the Samsara Eye after accidentally opening it. These experiences are the top priority for the current Long Yu. One cell transplant has already made Long Yu feel uncomfortable, and if he fails several times, he will become an experimental body. It has become an existence like Danzang and Orochimaru, who are neither human nor ghosts. No matter how strong Long Yu's mind was, it was unacceptable. Looking at your skillful methods, you should often pretend to be them to do things. If you let them know that you were also shot while lying down, you don't know what your expression would be. Orochimaru stuck out his scarlet tongue and licked his dry red lips, revealing a playful smile. However, he soon heard the awe-inspiring sound of breaking through the air, and Senbai's bone knife, like a pair of drills, slashed Orochimaru's tongue. The unexpected scene made Orochimaru's expression stagnate, and he couldn't help hurriedly withdrawing and retreating. And the incoming attack rubbed his tongue. If the speed is not one beat faster, as the top three endures, his strength is not empty, I am afraid that his tongue has already been cut off. What are you doing? Orochimaru just stood firm and looked at Junmalu coldly. He cherishes talents and likes to take their bodies as his own. However, in the face of Junmalu's talent and slashing at himself, he couldn't accept it. The boss said, "Don't show any flaws, your tongue is too much in the way, who can do such disgusting things except you?" Junmaru said coldly. As soon as these words came out, Orochimaru immediately. Word ended. Nothing wrong with this. You can play a tongue into a whip, and you can hide the sword of Kusanagi for detailed attack. Except for Orochimaru, who can be so 6 inches haha, Orochimaru, don't see it, Junmalu also gives you are kidding. Long Yu smiled and touched the tip of his nose. Someone is here, listen to my instructions, if you can't get away with it, let's do it again. Voice fell, Orochimaru and Junmalu were not waiting for a response. Which looked slightly worn and covered with traces of old and new attacks, was slammed open. Who witnessed this scene, was stunned at first, and soon saw a slightly fat figure, with vigorous movements, violently swept out of the village. Immediately behind him, there were also 4 old men, their withered bark-like cheeks twitched slightly, looking at Long Yu with a hint of brilliance. Looking at the sudden appearance of a group of 5 people, Long Yu raised his brows and seemed a little surprised. If he remembered correctly, the fat man in front of him was, in the original book, Nagato used to create the Kusanagi of the 6 paths of pain, among them the Hungry Ghost Road. However, after Long Yu's rioting in this dimension, the historical trajectory has obviously undergone tremendous changes. At least, the Hungry Ghost realm in front of him can appear accompanied by 4 old men, and his position in Grass Ninja Village should not be low. Hello, I'm the deputy head of Sao Nin Village, Hungry Ghost Ma Dongyi. Fat Man was the first to introduce. These 4 are the consultants of our Grass Ninja Village. They know that I hired people from Xiao's organization to quell the rebellion. If you have to take a look, don't take offense. Chapter 237. Rely on Fists. Higher Xiao Organization. Long Yu raised his brows, looking a little surprised. However, when you think about it, in the original book, the Xiao Organization is also under the banner of peace, accepting employment tasks from others everywhere, and living in the cracks of Yurin Village. This method is not much different from countries accepting entrusted tasks. Just that they are in the name of a big country, which is a bit of a reputation brand guarantee. Compared with the big countries, the Xiao Organization is a private mercenary organization, so the price of hiring is a little cheaper than that of the big countries. For a small ninja village like the Grass Ninja Village, they also encountered natural disasters not long ago, and they were hit hard. Is a better hiring target. The most important thing, Ma Dongyi in front of him was able to take the right seat, which also saved Long Yu a lot of time. I'm Yahiko from Xiao's organization. This time I heard that there was a civil unrest in the village, and there were successive battles, so I came ahead of time. I hope Ma Dongyi, the village chief, don't take offense. Long Yu thought about his words in an instant. The only thing he was glad he didn't kill just now was that grass ninja, and he gathered a lot of useful information. Otherwise, facing this acting village chief and 4 old men, I am afraid that I will be speechless. Right now, it's a crooked fight, and it's a bit of shit luck. I hope things can be resolved smoothly in the future. You are Yahiko, one of the 3 leaders of the Akatsuki organization. Ma Dongyi was stunned for a moment, and then said in a hurry, I didn't expect that this time. I'll ask you to take a trip in person. It seems that your organization really cares about peace matters. Also, Chief Yahiko, you are too serious. I'm just acting as the village chief. If you let others hear your village chief, it will break me. Ma Dongyi, who patted himself on the shoulder, spitting spittle, and speaking in a low-key manner, Long Yu couldn't help but feel helpless. This Naruto world is really full of wonders. Ma Dongyi, you are also a guest when you walk through the door. What's more, the person in front of you is the leader of Xiao's organization. In order to help us put down the rebellion in Xiaonin village, why don't you hurry up and bring them into rest? The horse-faced old man looked at Long Yu one more time and said in a deep voice. Leader Yahiko, I hope you don't take offense. Our grass ninja village is not like a big country ninja village. It has rich talents and a small number of combat power. Next, I hope you don't move around casually, otherwise it will be bad if there is any misunderstanding. The slightly long-sounding voice was mixed with a hint of alertness. Seeing that Ma Dongyi's expression changed slightly, Long Yu didn't get angry but smiled and said, Haha, this elder, you are too modest. I heard that your grass ninja village is good at gathering the strengths of hundreds of schools and innovating to create more powerful ninjutsu. The village is more accepting of people with lofty ideals from all walks of life, all kinds of people who have the ability to follow the boundaries, and a lot of talents. This kind of tolerance in the world, but the example of our organization, it is a major step in promoting peace. Having said that, Long Yu looked directly at the horse-faced old man. A flattering speech without traces made the old man with a horse face feel like a boxing flower. Out and don't hit the smiling man. Long Yu's words in front of him must be watertight, and he has no strength and nowhere to use it. Okay, it's good to say Datong's tolerant heart in the world. It really speaks to the spirit of our grass ninja village. Ma Dongyi took the lead in laughing and echoed. After all, he was also ordered to be in danger, and he was stunned. Existence. Hearing Long Yu's remarks, he immediately became eager, patted Long Yu's shoulder and said, Leader Yahiko, if you don't mind, I was just going to see the newly received refugees, but one of them was a red-haired one. Little Gito, I heard that he was born in the Shattered Seal clan, a member of the Whirlpool clan. Are you interested? The red-haired little devil-headed Long Yu raised his brows. He didn't expect that he was lucky today, and the other party came to the door in person. Facing Ma Dongyi's enthusiasm, Long Yu responded with a smile. All right, if you don't mind Ma Dongyi, the village chief, we can see the infinite style of the village, this Datong world's tolerance, but it is worth learning. However, it is also thanks to the village chief that you are enlightened. This is a shortcut to make the grass ninja village become powerful. Haha, Chief Yahiko, you have raised me high. I will hold a banquet tonight, drink a drink and never go home. The more Ma Dongyi listened, the more excited he became. The laughter was thunderous, and his cheeks were flushed with excitement like guangdong. Looking at the 3 words, Ma Dongyi even forgot the authenticity of their origins. Orochimaru suddenly had an illusion. The most powerful king of the ninja world is about to change hands. In the face of Long Yu's invisible diplomacy, and his delicate posture, it can be said that he has the strength of a god, but he has no pretense like a god. Orochimaru finally knew why Long Yu was able to gather that group of desperados. Okay, stop talking politely. Old man spoke again, looked at Long Yu coldly, and said, I didn't expect the leader of the Xiao organization to be able to speak well. It's no wonder that you can gain a firm foothold in the sight of Banshan Shan Jiaoyu Hanzang, but as an employer, we also hope that your strength can be as powerful as your mouth, otherwise the price is not worth it. The slightly long words were spit out, causing the atmosphere in the arena to change slightly. Long Yu said with a dry smile, this may disappoint the elders, I can stand firm in front of Hanzo, but rely on my fists. As for mouth guns, it also depends on the person. Things that can be solved with fists, you say, do you need to waste your lips and tongue? You, the horse-faced old man suddenly became angry. However, this time, before they could speak again, Ma Dongyi hurriedly said, Elders, haven't you been clamoring to see if those refugees have spies from other countries? We just happened to go and have a look. Facing Ma Dongyi, the acting village chief, the four elders still gave him some respect, turned around and took the lead. Seeing this scene, Ma Dongyi wiped the sweat from his forehead and said, Everyone, please don't take offense. These four elders are always thinking of Shaonin village, and their characters will be stricter, but the starting point is also right. Since everyone is also interested in the talents of our grass ninja village, let's go and have a look. Ma Dongyi spoke, he led the way in front. Everyone went all the way, and after detouring around the grass ninja village, they finally came to the village, which was originally a ruin. Looking at the big crater that was smashed by the star, and another sparse building, Long Yu reluctantly touched the tip of his nose. This ride is back to where it started. Did you see this place? Ma Dongyi looked at the ruins in front of him and said in awe, you should be very surprised to find this deserted place in the village. Chapter 238, Stabilizing the People. But I tell you secretly, it is rumored that the last village chief of our grass ninja village, as well as some high-level executives, were controlled by a mysterious force from outside. Until half a year ago, a ninja suspected of Konoha Ninja Village appeared here and mysterious people started a decisive battle and finally won, and we rescued our grass ninja village. Having said that, Ma Dongyi did not forget to look back and said, is it too mysterious, but if you can see that someone can summon meteorites from outside the sky, and someone can crush meteorites with a series of chakra balls, it will definitely be unforgettable. Looking at Xingzi with a mouth full of spittle, in a blink of an eye, it seemed as if he had become Uchiha Ryayu. Ma Dongyi like a little fangirl, Orochimaru couldn't help twitching the corner of his mouth. Compared with Ma Dongyi, Orochimaru, don't believe it or not, he has suffered from Long Yu several times. It can be said that this kind of pain can definitely be called unforgettable, deep into the bone marrow. If Ma Dongyi knew that the master who was trying to flatter him was right beside him, I'm afraid he would be stimulated to the point that he rolled his eyes and passed out. Whoosh! Of breaking through the air suddenly sounded, and soon I saw a grass ninja tribe in front of me. The sudden scene disturbed Ma Dongyi's interest. He frowned and said, what happened? You have to be in such a hurry. Ninja's expression was stagnant, and after looking at Long Yu and the others, he showed hesitation. Ma Dongyi's face sank and said, these are the distinguished guests who came to support our grass ninja village to quell the rebellion. If you have anything, just say it directly. Dear guest, Kusanagi Anbu was stunned for a moment, but after seeing the black auspicious cloud cloak on Long Yu and others, he said anxiously, who are the injured people? They want to try special treatment, but the woman's chakra is not enough, so. Having said that, Kusanagi Anbu opened his mouth and couldn't continue. What bastards! Ma Dongyi drank angrily, and immediately sped away first. Orochimaru couldn't help but smile softly. Just as he was about to lick his tongue, he saw Jun Malu, who was eyeing him, and quickly changed his actions. I didn't expect to encounter lively things as soon as I came here. I really want to know what kind of ability the person you are looking for has. Looking at the playful Orochimaru, if you let him know that the corners he has dug now are all his subordinates in the original book, I am afraid that he will not be able to laugh now. However, Long Yu did not explain much, and after a flicker of his figure, he quickly followed. Be nice to be able to take people away without much effort. But if he really wanted to use force, Long Yu wouldn't mind. As Long Yu thought, the place where these refugees were resettled was surprisingly close to the other edge of the ruins. Just saw the dilapidated barracks, in the chaotic crowd. By a group of ferocious ninjas, two figures appeared first in Long Yu's eyes. I saw a young girl with red hair who was only 2 or 3 years old. Her eyes were not blurred, and hot tears were pouring out from the corners of her eyes. However, even though she was crying, she didn't make the slightest sound, and that quiet action made people feel an inexplicable taste. Standing in front of her, she was also a woman in her early 20s with red hair. However, perhaps due to perennial malnutrition and various wars and turmoil, she became yellow-faced and thin-skinned. However, what made people feel the most? An inexplicable shocking feeling, but on her body, that could not be eliminated, rows of neat and hideous teeth marks. Regardless of skin seems to be occupied by tooth marks. Distance, Rao Shimao and Junmalu's expressions were also stagnant. Please, return the glasses to my daughter. She is still young, her eyesight is not very good, and she has not awakened the ability to heal. As long as I recover a little, I can continue to treat you. The red-haired woman smells of pleading. People who were born into the Vortex family have the ability to follow the boundaries of blood. Pity that God gave them such a heaven-defying recovery ability, but did not give them the strong self-protection ability they should have. In the face of those coveted people, these abilities will undoubtedly make them the tools of others. For them, war is like a devil, making everyone go crazy, rushing on them and biting frantically. Watching the companions die in this inhuman torture with my own eyes. Originally, for the red-haired woman, she had already accepted this fate, but she never thought that this devil's hand would reach out to her daughter who was only 2 or 3 years old. Thinking of, at this age, to suffer such inhuman treatment, on the skin like suet and white jade. Bitten greedily by this group of hateful ugly people is something that the red-haired woman cannot accept. For the sad fate of the Whirlpool family, I feel deeply powerless. Dilapidated refugee camp, hundreds of people surrounded the corner. Under the cross-flow of dirty and foul stench, the tip of Long Yu's nose could not help wrinkling. With a face full of pleading and helpless, covering the little devil's head behind her, she subconsciously looked at Ma Dongyi. He wanted to know how he would handle this situation. However, at this glance, Long Feng shook his head helplessly. 4 old men were standing in front of Ma Dongyi, their faces sullen, as if they were watching a play. Of Long Feng, the old man with a hoarse face said coldly, Ma Dongyi, don't forget, you are just acting as the village chief. There are hundreds of people here, many of whom are local ninjas, and foreigners who want to join our wandering ninjas. They may all be members of our grass ninja village. For the sake of a kid who doesn't know if he has the ability to awaken, and who is suspected to be the Whirlpool clan, he has offended all these people. This is not something you can take on. Speaking of this, the old man with a hoarse face looked at Long Yu intentionally or unintentionally and said, what's more, they were surrounded by hundreds of people. Could it be that you saved them? These words fell, the remaining 3 old men nodded silently in agreement. Ma Dongyi and Kusanagi Anbu, who was communicating the news, couldn't help but look ashen. As the old man with hoarse face said, he was just an acting village chief, and he was appointed temporarily by the daimyo. Is no way to compare the power he possesses with the 444 old men in front of him. If you really want to be held accountable, you will be the puppet village chief, in order to stabilize the hearts of the people. Looking at the hundreds of people in front of me, the riots that may be caused are completely insignificant. Only thing that can be done right now is to stand by and wait for the results outside the encirclement. However, as soon as the idea emerged in their minds, a cold chuckle came from their ears, tightening their nerves. Ha, this elder's brain circuit really caught people off guard. Long Yu walked slowly with a chuckle, and said to the old man's gloomy gaze, according to my understanding, if the elder's house is surrounded by hundreds of burly men and asks for something, if she doesn't calling for help, can you really hold your breath and watch a play here? Chapter 239, The head is different. It's better to wait until the raw rice is cooked. It's really been done hundreds of times. After confirming that she is your precious daughter, you will punish hundreds of people. Still holding on to this sentence, mishandling it will cause hundreds of riots. For the future of Grass Ninja Village, let your daughter swallow this sigh and continue to be harassed by those people next time. This cycle will eventually lead to Grass Ninja Village. Devotion. The slightly long-sounding voice was mixed with playfulness, and in this case, it was very disturbing. However, falling into the ears of Ma Dongyi and Kusanagi Anbu made them stunned, and nodded subconsciously. If it wasn't for the existence of the four elders, I'm afraid they couldn't help nodding their heads in agreement and giving them a thumbs up. You bastard, you know what nonsense you are talking about. This is the affairs of our Grass Ninja Village and has nothing to do with your organization. Faced old man's face sank, and he shouted coldly, what's more, they are not from our Grass Ninja Village. As refugees, it is already a supreme honor for us to accept them here. Could it be that you still plan to let us cause riots in the village for the sake of two people who have nothing to do with them, and chill the future pillars of our Grass Ninja Village? A strong heart. Under these hundreds of people, there is absolutely no way to save them, and we are unable to save them. If you think that there is something wrong with our Grass Ninja Village, you can leave. The old words came out, and there was an unquestionable taste between the words. Faced with all this, the smile on Long Yu's face became even wider. That genial smile, like the boy next door, fell in the eyes of Orochimaru, making his spine shiver uncontrollably. As Long Yu's subordinate, he was a frequent visitor to the defeated generals over and over again, but he knew it very well. What is hidden behind this smile? Big Snake, you should have heard it too, the elders of the Grass Ninja Village, but they said they have nothing to do with the Grass Ninja Village. I took a closer look. She seems to be a bit similar to the lost people in our Shao organization. You said what we should do. Long Yu smiled and looked at Orochimaru. It made everyone in the field look stagnant. Orochimaru was no exception. He subconsciously wanted to lick his tongue, but he quickly reacted and said with a soft smile, of course you can't just sit back and ignore it. If necessary, you can use force. You bastard, you dare. The horse-faced old man suddenly woke up and roared in anger. In the encircling circle, who was the first to react to the burly man with glasses and eyeing tigers? A ferocious look on his face, and he reached out and grabbed the red-haired kid's head. Little devil, don't cry. Even if you shed your tears, no one can save you. Let me take a bite and I can give you the glasses back. It can be said that this time, he was ordered to lead the riot. The purpose is to verify whether the little devil in front of him really has unlimited potential and can take risks for them to tear their faces and fight for it. Who witnessed this scene couldn't help but have a smile on his face. In his eyes, as long as the proven healing ability. These wounded refugees will riot. At that time, the only remaining strength of the Grass Ninja Village will be weakened infinitely. At that time, they can also do things conveniently. What's more, in these hundreds of people, the old man with horse face doesn't believe that anyone can ruin his good deeds. However, this idea had just emerged, when he looked at the burly big man who shot violently. Of the sight made the horse-faced old man's expression stagnate, and he almost split his eyes. Like a ghost, a figure appeared first in front of the red-haired little ghost. Like lightning, the right hand was buckled on the wrist of the burly man. The scene of the first arrival was simply shaking everyone's nerves, making people's faces full of disbelief. You are. The red-haired woman froze for a moment, and there was a hint of shock on her helpless face. Of course she heard what the horse-faced elder said. Annihilated the glimmer of hope she had just sprouted. Likewise, I never imagined that someone would be at such a critical juncture. Such a powerful instant technique, he passed hundreds of people in the blink of an eye and came to them. Aren't you people from our Shao organization? I have a very poor memory, but I can still vaguely recognize it. Besides, I am very protective of my shortcomings. Long Yu smiled and looked at the burly big man. The 5 fingers of the right hand suddenly exerted force, and the huge force squeezed, causing the big man to let out a shrill scream. Give me back the glasses and keep them all away, otherwise don't blame me for being rude. Repeat, I'm very protective. You are very short. Burly big man's expression was distorted, and he roared fiercely. I like it very much. Cut off your head, brothers, let's go together. This person is preventing us from healing, that is our enemy, we must kill him. With the roar, hundreds of people instantly rioted. And deafening like a wave. Who watched this scene couldn't help but have a playful smile on his face, and said softly, hee hee, it's the end of the show. What protects the shortcoming? What your people? I just want to take a look. How do you end? This was originally a pawn he planted to cause infighting. The way to provoke a riot right now is not what they expected. But in their eyes, as long as the same result is achieved, it is enough. However, this thought just popped up in their minds, and the next moment, it was a white bone spur that stabbed out without warning. Like a fierce and incomparable cold light, it crossed the neck of the burly man. PFF'd. The blood splattered like a dazzling firework, but it gave people a kind of shocking feeling. The flying head crossed a beautiful parabola in the void and hit the ground not far away. The round eyes were obviously full of disbelief. A moment ago, he was roaring to take off Long Yu's head, but now he was headed in a different place. If you don't see it with your own eyes, who wants to believe that all this is true? The rioting crowd was the first to fall into a dead silence. Facing the burly big man, the sudden death was obviously pouring down like a basin of cold water, and they involuntarily stopped in place. Looking at Jun Malu who suddenly shot, Long Yu didn't blame him. He leaned over to pick up the glasses, put them on the red-haired kid's head, and rubbed her head with a smile, saying, "Don't cry, your name is what name?" The red-haired kid was stunned for a moment, but she seemed to be young, but she was obviously used to seeing life and death, staring straight at the big man's body, and was silent for a moment. "My lord, I'm sorry, Xianglin is still young. If you are not polite, I hope you don't take offense." The red-haired woman woke up suddenly, begging for an explanation. Chapter 240. Keep all useless and kill them. At the same time, he rolled up his sleeves, revealing his arm full of teeth marks and said, "Sir, if you need treatment, you can bite me. After a while, I can recover some chakra and treat him for you." Look at this red-haired woman who was almost as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. Of rolling up his sleeves and letting others go, made Long Yu sigh faintly. I am afraid this is the heart of the poor parents in the world. In the most ordinary times, perhaps the world is impermanent and can't see through. But when it really comes to a critical moment, how many people stand up for you? I am willing to give it to you, sir. Xianglin's childish voice suddenly sounded. Looking at the trembling, rolling up sleeves and sticking out, the small arms like suet and white jade, the feeling of pink toot, makes people have the urge to take a bite. Looking at the nervous and frightened Xianglin who tried to calm down, Long Yu smiled and rubbed her hair, saying, I am very strong, at least in my memory, no one has ever been there. Can hurt me. No one can hurt. Faced old man's face was gloomy, and he subconsciously looked at another chess piece hidden in the crowd. The two looked at each other and reached a consensus in an instant. An unexpected roar sounded among the refugees. This girl really has the ability to heal. That man wants to deprive us of the chance to recover. Don't forget, the reason we gathered here is to make the grass ninja village value our strength. As long as we can kill this bastard, and then capture that red-haired kid, and then seize the grass ninja village, we still need to be afraid of people, women, power, money, and what we won't get. Don't forget that we are bandits and wandering ninjas. Roars sounded one after another in the crowd. The scene became chaotic in an instant. Stop it all, I'm the acting village head of Sao Nin village, and everyone will step down for me. Ma Dongyi fell in front of Long Yu first. Raise your hands to drink these refugees back. However, before he, the acting village chief, could show a little bit of residual heat, he was the first to see black shadows attacking from the sky. The violent scene caused Ma Dongyi's expression to change dramatically. Just as he was about to block, he saw Jun Malu preemptively stop the incoming shuriken. Okay, you so-called village chief, you are really cute and stupid. Long Yu patted Ma Dongyi on the shoulder and said, I don't know how to obey even the most basic orders, so why do you still want to bring wolves into the room? Ma Dongyi, the old man with horse face, and the others were stunned at first, but the words that fell in their ears the next moment made their nerves tense to the extreme. Keep the useless ones and kill them all. Long Yu looked at Junmalu. As the shouting shout just said, most of them are bandits, wandering ninjas, and chess pieces lurking inside. Was obviously out of ulterior motives that they gathered here. Since, keeping it is only a scourge, it is better to kill all of them quickly and neatly. Got it, boss. Jun Mamo responded. The young body, like a tiger and leopard, is slightly bent and taut. Seeing the oncoming attack, the two men attacking with standard short knives, their clear eyes suddenly sharpened, like falcons, locked on the mob. You bastard, let a little devil kill us, this is not an idiot talking in a dream. The two wandering ninjas who came were the first to laugh in disdain. In his hand slashed at Junmalu instantly. However, the moment they started, their expressions changed drastically. Dang, the crisp metal collision sound caused the two to suffer severe pain, and they didn't wait for them to react. A Dawson white bone spur, like an indestructible spear, tore the robes of Junmalu. Under the horrified eyes of the two, they directly penetrated their bodies. PFF'd, blood splashed, and the scalding temperature was scattered on other people's bodies, scorching like fire, making the wandering ninja who was rushing towards him startled at first. However, before they could react, a figure pierced through the bones, like a hedgehog, plunged into the crowd. The two bone blades in his hand cut through the void like a piece of training. Every time you wave it, you will see blood seal your throat directly. That seemingly young body, at this moment, is extremely agile, making it difficult for the naked eye to capture. In the face of this group of skirmishers, no one can stop Jun Malu half a step. Such a brave scene changed the expression of the horse-faced old man standing outside the field. You bastard, I don't believe it, I can't catch you. Three wandering ninjas roared and quickly formed a series of spell marks with their hands. Junmalu suddenly turned his eyes and locked on the three people. In his calculations, at this distance, he could kill the three of them before the seal was completed. However, just as this idea first appeared in Junmalu's mind, the next moment his expression changed suddenly. Grass-hidden imprisonment technique. The horse-faced old man's expression was gloomy, obviously he had chosen the opportunity, and instantly shot a little into the air. An indescribable force of confinement, under the frantic infusion of chakra, made Junmalu's forward movement a little stagnant. In normal times, this might not be a problem. But on the battlefield, it is very important. If you are a little careless, there will be a flaw, and you will probably die if you wait. Orochimaru, who has been watching from the sidelines, raised his brows, showing a feminine smile, and was planning to show some kindness and disgust Junmalu. The next moment, the scene of entering the target shook his nerves. The fifth door is open. Junmalu snorted coldly, and red sweat burst out in an instant, causing the people around the body to stun at the same time. The feet slammed down on the ground, and the ground was like a cobweb bursting, and the whole person disappeared like a ghost. Appeared again, already spanning more than 10 meters, and appeared in front of the three wandering ninjas who performed 3 spells. The bone knives in both hands, at extreme speed, cut straight to their throats. Don't! The screams in unison suddenly came out, but in the face of the razor-sharp blade-like death, all those requests seemed pale and powerless. The last magic seal formed in the hand cannot mobilize the chakra in the body. In the flying field of vision, I could vaguely see the familiar body, falling backwards weakly. Bang! The sound of heavy objects hitting the ground shocked all the wandering ninjas at the same time. Elder Malien waited for the four, and their expressions suddenly changed drastically. He glanced at each other subconsciously. Before he had time to think about it, he made the most of his teleportation technique. The distance of dozens of meters, under the full exertion of the four of them, only took a few breaths to pass through the shocked crowd.